Hello, hello. Hope everyone's having a good Saturday. There's quite an agenda today, trying to build one of these model kits, and I need you guys to help me decide which one to build first. Oops. Why is this doing it? There you go. Tried to link it on Twitter. Decided to play the video for me. Anyway, how's everyone's morning going? If it's morning for you, or some other time in the day. Hello. Hello. Hi, Fanic, I think, and Mastier. Yes, we are doing some Trails related streams today. Are you tired? Yeah, I kind of slept in this morning, I won't lie. It felt very good. Martin, did you go to Anime Expo? I did not go this year. I've only been 1 year, which was last year when they had, all the Trails stuff. This year, NAS America wasn't attending and therefore not showing Trails stuff. So maybe next year, we'll see. Depends on what I have going on and what they are offering. I'm actually going to a lot of other conventions this year. I've already been to one. Back in April, I went to Midwest Gaming Classic for the first time. And then next weekend, I'm going to Siege, which is in Greenville, South Carolina. I'll be a special guest and also doing a panel with my podcast crew. So that should be a good time. And then I'm also going to be going to PAX West later in August/September. And I have some exciting things to announce about that very soon. Oh, you're learning that Chrono Cross song on piano. That's very exciting. I was never much of a band kid. Actually, I have never learned a musical instrument outside of when they had to teach you, I think, the recorder or something, like in elementary school. I appreciate music. It's just nothing I really, I think, felt compelled to learn. And I feel like it would take me forever to learn, learn a new language. I'm not very good with other languages, unfortunately. Hi, Joe. Happy Saturday. Hello, Jerry Bear 88. Hi, Sai. You can increase the volume. Oh, I'm at max volume. Let's see. Hopefully that's okay. Maybe that's a little bit louder. I know I have kind of a soft voice, so sometimes it's not the best for these mic setups. We're in South Carolina, in Greenville. That's where Siege is held every year. And I've never been to South Carolina or Greenville, and I'm planning to do a vlog, so it should be exciting. And I'm hoping to pick up some good retro game finds. Yeah, PAX West should be fun. I've never been to any of the PAX conventions, and PAX West is the OG up in Seattle. So it should be really cool. And I have, again, some exciting things I'm hoping to announce very soon. The Stuff 10, hello. Let's see, what are your favorite video game soundtracks? Well, I don't know. I meant to play a soundtrack in the background. I have a playlist of some Falcom songs, so hopefully that's coming through well. But as a Trails fan, I really love the Trails soundtracks, and just anything Falcom just does, like Ease and all the other Tokyo Xanadu, all those. They're a lot of fun. Outside of that, I feel like you can't go wrong with most JRPG soundtracks. I really love the Xenoblade ones. That's why I got that Trinity box they sold, was it last year? And I'm also a big fan of all the Supergiant games, so I really like their soundtracks. But there's so many good soundtracks out there. I feel like I need to spend more time and kind of distinguish which ones are actually my top 10 or something. So for the moment, whenever I want to listen to a video game soundtrack, I usually just go onto a playlist on Spotify or someplace like that, or YouTube, and just play some. and I'm not always like noting like what game they come from. I just appreciating it all. But it's also cool, I think, if you played a game and then you go back to listen to the soundtrack, it kind of, you know, evokes some memories of the time you played it. Oh, limitless choices. 2 hours away, that's pretty close by. I recommend maybe heading out there if you've never been to Siege. It's supposed to be, I think, the biggest retro gaming convention on the East Coast, if not at least the South. So it should be a good time. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Let's see. Trin, what do you guys broadcast live on your phone at Siege while walking around the floor? I don't have that planned. I don't know if Brandon or Dala, who are my podcast co-hosts over at the JRPG Pursuit, if they plan on doing that. I think we're probably not going to do that. I definitely don't have like a data plan to do that very well. I would have to look into upgrading that if I were to do that in the future. But something to consider for sure. I actually bought one of those fancy cameras, the Osmo Pocket 3. So it has like this little gimbal thing, and deciding to film more vlog-like content on this guy. So that should be fun. Let's see. Blue Destination, yes, Blue Destination is a great song in the Cold Steel arc. The blonde here is, so both of these are from the Trails games. This kind of mecha looking figure is kind of a prominent sort of figure among 7, I would say, in the Cold Steel arc. I'm trying to avoid any spoilers if you haven't played the Trails games and plan to, but there are some cool kind of mecha elements definitely in this Cold Steel arc. This one, she appears a little bit earlier than Cold Steel, but she's also prominent in Cold Steel. And I don't want to spoil too much about who she is. So just know she's in the Trails kind of universe. Hello from Barcelona. Oh, all the way in Spain. Hello. And yeah, I'm glad that I helped encourage you on your Trails journey. So hopefully the remake that's coming out in September will be amazing and convert a lot more people into becoming Trails fans, because it is a really fun series to play. Let's see. I'm really bad at keeping up with the chat. I'll try to improve. What stream number is this? This is stream number 5. Hopefully I'm doing small incremental improvements. Yeah, I think it would be cool if they remade Parasite Eve. I've tried the Parasite Eve games, and I think it's kind of cool how they would integrate, you know, a survival horror sort of genre with more of a traditional JRPG. So someday, maybe Square Enix will bring that back. The Xenoblade Chronicles X soundtrack is so funky. It's so different from the other Xenoblade games, but I kind of love it, even with the kind of cheesy English lyrics they have in some of the songs. It's definitely like a vibe that it's really fun to bop to when you're just kind of exploring around. And yeah, I agree, the Xenogears soundtracks are good as well. Oh, Supergiant Games. So that's a development studio. It's an indie studio. They're the ones who do Transistor, Hades, Bastion. So they have a lot of great soundtracks from all their games. Do I like the Super Robot Wars games? I have not played them, but I've been interested in them because I've kind of gotten more into kind of mech stuff through these kind of model kits, and I've been wanting to watch more kind of traditional Gundam and other type of mech animes. I've seen a couple in the past, but not that many, and they always seem kind of fun, so maybe I'll expand upon that in the future. The Queen of Model Kits, I don't know about that. This will be my fourth model kit I'll be building. I built 2 Trails kind of mech figures in the past, Valimar and Ordine, but The third one I did was a very small model kit of Van from Trails Through Daybreak's Grundle, kind of what he transforms into. And that's a very simple model kit. I think anyone could probably do that one if they desire. These are a little bit more complicated, and I'm hoping to get a little bit better, hopefully through the stream, because I also have, it's out of reach, the Siren from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I want to build that one as well at some point, but it's going to be a little bit. Dr. God, happy birthday. Thank you for the super chat, and I hope this Saturday goes well for you. Let's see. You would pay, you have to pay for the expensive internet at an expo to broadcast. Yeah, I don't have that plan. So maybe in the future, especially if I want to go to more kind of conventions or do more in-person streaming. Right now, I don't think it makes too much sense for me to invest in that. Should I share what the boxes look like up close? So these are kind of the two boxes I need to choose between to build today. This one is going to be similar to the other two model kits I mentioned before that are kind of the mech style. And so this is Argreion, Argent Knight, and he's pretty cool, isn't he? And what's really cool about these Trails model kits is actually they're pre-painted. So if you don't want to paint them, you don't have to. In the past, I've just done, I've used more specifically these Gundam markers just to kind of give them accents. And so I use, for example, the gold pen, as well as they have like these Gundam markers to help kind of define some of the lines in some of these kits and make the plastic parts pop out a bit more. So I've used those in the past. I don't think we'll probably make it to the painting stage today. I think we're probably just going to focus on building today, because these could take me a couple hours to do, since I try to make each part kind of nice before I fit them together. So we'll see how that one goes. And then the second one is Arianrhod, the Steel Maiden. Again, another kind of Trails character here. Let me move that. And she looks really cool. I've actually never, again, built a person outside of Grundle who is more kind of like a little mini mech than a person. But she has some very cool stances here to build. So we have these two to consider. So let me know if you guys prefer, I guess, the like more mech one or the lady. Which one you'd like me to see me build today? And I bought these, I think they recently came out maybe like a month ago, and I picked them up from a Japanese retailer because they are both by Good Smile Company. So this is their Argreion line, and this is also Good Smile, but this is the, it says here, yeah, Playmata line. But I bought these off of AmiAmi specifically. So I'm really behind, so I'm just gonna scroll past here. Yeah, I think this one is probably gonna be the cooler one to build, and I'm a bit more familiar with how this one goes. So Comic-Con merch, exclusive merch. I don't usually track a lot of the Comic-Con, like specifically the San Diego Comic-Con merch, because they usually don't do IPs that I heavily collect for. Trails isn't quite popular enough, I think, in at least here in the US, to get a lot of exclusive merch. I usually have to import all of my Trails merch, but I think we have like a new person who makes merch now. There's the Bracer Guild. I think they're out of the US, and they take a lot of the licensed art and print them on things like t-shirts and stuff. So I'm looking forward to more of what they do. They also make some plushies online, which is cool. I don't know how to run a poll in this interface, unfortunately. I was trying to figure that out. I think I may have to connect that to some other feature. Unfortunately, I don't see a poll on YouTube's streaming interface. So sorry about that. I am, again, very new at knowing how to do this. There must be some sort of thing that's you enable. So I'm seeing some votes for the mech one. Is that the one that we're in agreement with? I don't think I'll have time for both. Unfortunately, I do have to start working on next week's video because I will be gone, and I want to make sure I have a video coming out next week that's lined up, because I'll have a video coming out tomorrow, so I have so much stuff I need to do the next few days before I leave for South Carolina, so I want to make sure I have plenty of time later this afternoon to work on next week's video. Hello, hello. Almost at 50K subs. It might take me a while because I am trying new things with streaming here, and I don't think it's necessarily on YouTube the most sub-friendly thing to do if you kind of pivot, I guess. Maybe that will change. I'm not sure. Hello, hello. So I think so I saw a couple votes for Argreion and a couple also for Arianrhod, but I think I might start with this guy, which is, I think, the more ambitious between these two. I think there's definitely more moving parts, but I have some experience building the knight figures, so hopefully that will come in clutch. Spirit Beaver. Been trying to get the run figure, but so much money, yes. Unfortunately, it seems like whenever the Trails figures I have back there from Kotobukiya, whenever they go out of print, they get a little bit expensive on the aftermarket. But Kotobukiya has been reissuing them, and I have a feeling with the Trails remake coming out, we'll see more remakes, especially of the characters that show up in the Sky games, like Ren. So hopefully you'll be able to snag her for at least MSRP at some point, because her figure is really nice. And I think it'll be really cool if they made a Daybreak figure of her when she's a little bit older, but I do want them to probably prioritize characters they haven't made figures for, because I'm not really sure why we have so many Altina figures at this point. Am I interested in simple model kits for stuff like One Piece or Pokemon? I have an interest. I would have to find, I guess, the right one before I dive in, and I would also be open to some other series too, like Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh! But I guess the model kit will have to call to me before I decide to go down that rabbit hole. All right, so I guess we'll start with this guy, and I'll share what the contents look like. And I guess I didn't show the back of his box, but there's all these cool little poses you could do with him. So my trusty X-Acto knife is going to open him up. And if you never opened a model kit, this is what they look like inside. And this basically comes with a box you take out, and they're full of all these various pieces. So we're gonna get some crinkly ASMR in this. So hopefully it's not too irritating with noise. But I think the first thing I'll do is remove the plastic from all these pieces, because there are a ton of them. And then what I like to do whenever I start building a model kit is at the very top of the, I forget the terminology, but this frame containing some of the pieces, they're labeled with letters A through Z, or sometimes if there are too many pieces like that overextend the English alphabet, I'll do like AA, et cetera, et cetera. So I like to order those so I know kind of which frame is where. So let me start doing this, and hopefully the sound isn't too irritating to you guys. Open them. And we'll fling the plastic on the floor. And I'll deal with that later. Yeah, the Daybreak school uniform Ren has, I think looks really good. And also for Daybreak 2, her outfits, when they go to that island, also very good. Where am I from? I am from the US, living in California at the moment. Yes, I think a Sarah figure would be awesome, but honestly, I just want all the characters get figures. It'll be way too expensive and I'll have no room for them, but there's so many characters that I think would look so cool in figure form. Do I like Dark Souls games? I've not played a Dark Souls game, but I've been interested. I want to try them. And some of the other From Software Souls-like games. My thoughts on Baldur's Gate 3. I really enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3. I want to get back to it because I kind of stopped my playthrough towards the end, and I also want to restart and try to see some of the other scenarios that you could choose. But honestly, it was so fun. That was the first time I've ever played a JRPG before, and I definitely want to play more of them. They're kind of, I would say, very refreshing to play because of how different they are from other traditional Western RPGs as well as JRPGs. But I really liked all the characters, and the combat was fun, and some really good story beats. So I highly recommend that game if you guys are like the RPG genre but haven't tried it. Hi Erica, thanks for coming by, as well as Port Break. Oh, you made a Spirit Beaver. You made a Daybreak Ren cosplay. That's so cool. I want to do more cosplays. I meant to do another one this year, but then time happened. And if you want to like make your own like cosplays and things like that, it's very time consuming, and I don't have the best sewing skills. Like, I definitely can sew. It's just, it's been a while. I'm kind of rusty. So I would have to kind of do that. And also just acquiring all the items too, if you want to have, you know, some of the accessories and of course the right hair and things like that. So this is a good sound. Okay, I'm glad this isn't an irritating sound. I never know how that would turn out on this. Hi Ashley. You're from Russia? Oh, I do talk fast. That might be a California thing. I'm not sure. There's definitely different, you know, accents and dialects just in here in the US, and of course other people who speak English, they'll go about it a little bit differently. And whenever I get really excited, I tend to talk really fast. So hopefully I'm somewhat understandable. Let's see. The only model kit we have is the Eureka 7 Bosch Type 0, but it's still sitting in the box. Well, maybe now might be a good time to open it up. We could build one together. Because, yeah, I kind of wanted to do the stream, so I had an excuse to start building these because they're really fun, and I get like really zeroed in when I start, where I just can't stop until it's done. We'll see if that happens today, if I have enough time. But There's something about model kit building that's just very therapeutic. Like you just have your mind, you know, zeroed in on one task. I really like doing that. I think that's also why video games really appealed to me. It's just a really good way, I think, to relax for me. Just to have my mind on one thing instead of, you know, worrying about other things in the world. The Fee figure is really nice. I do like her, though it's kind of weird how they gave her an upskirt. I won't lie. For the Kotobukiya figure. Yeah, I was thinking if we want to do more model kit builds, I do have another camera, and so I'll have to, I think, figure out some way to hook up a camera so you could see maybe the table I'm working on. That's for a future me to figure out. We decided on the mech build this time, the more complicated one, but that's all right. Hello, hello, welcome. The only cosplays I could pull off would be Zack or Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Well, those are, I think, good characters to do a cosplay as. Always cool to see those when people cosplay Final Fantasy VII characters. This game, or sorry, this model kit is from the Trails of Cold Steel games. So it's one of the Divine Knights that enter in. And not to spoil anything, but hopefully that is enough. Yes, I actually have all the Kotobukiya figures. I cannot resist buying Trails figures. It is an expensive hobby, I will admit, but they're so good, and I love all the characters. So I definitely prioritized Trails figures as the ones I collect, and you can't quite see in this frame, but I do have all the Xenoblade Chronicles figures as well up there. While at the bottom there, some of my Fire Emblem ones that I had to be more selective because there's so many. And those are even more expensive than the Kotobukiya ones because they're larger scales, and Good Smile just charges more for them. So this is the last one. So all the plastic has been removed, and this is what the instructions look like, which is on the bottom of the box. So we're building this guy, and why are there two different pieces? So, okay, so this paper I think just describes all the plastic frames and which piece is which, if you can't read it, I guess, on the frame, like if it's E5 or something like that, because all the different pieces have a name on them, so it's easy to find when you, I guess, then go to these instructions to figure out which one to build first. And you can see the instructions are quite extensive here, which is good because we want to have plenty of things to look at and help us reference while building. But I'm going to flip to the first instructions. And another thing to note is all the instructions are in Japanese, but you definitely don't need to know Japanese to know what it says. You can always, you know, use Google Translate or something, some sort of app, if you want to read, like, for example, some of this information. But for the most part, you could just start by the instruction number 1. And just kind of figure out where your A-frame is and all that, and get started. But before I dive into this, I need to sort all of these so I know which frame is which, because I just have now a stack of frames. So this is E. All these blue pieces. is ABS. So we probably won't use these for a while. I'll have that off to the side. This is B. And A. Oh, I put A and B together. I'm behind chat again. So to catch up. What type of makeup brush do I use for dusting my figures? Oh, I have it right here. I really like this sort of brush. It's like small enough to get through the small little crevices to get on the dust out of, like, you know, the fine lines so that the dust doesn't like seep in. And it's just light enough to kind of just do an overall dusting. So if I have, say, a figure here, you just go over him just pretty quickly. If you have too thick of a brush, I feel like you run the risk of knocking the figure down, which could potentially damage it, especially if there's a very, like, you know, delicate part that you're dusting. So something like this I recommend. Let's see. Awesome Goku says, Emily, you should give 100 Line Last Defense Academy a try one day. Yes, that is on my list. I just haven't really been buying a lot of new games. Recently, I've been trying to, well, all of my Trails figures have basically been taking up my hobby funds at the moment, but I've also been trying to save so that I have plenty of funds for when I go to Siege and also PAX West. I can buy things. So that's kind of why I've been slowing down a bit on the pickups and also just being patient for some of the game deals. Like yesterday, they had the newest Yu-Gi-Oh collection on sale for $20, so I grabbed that. That should be coming sometime next week, hopefully before I leave. But yeah, other than that, I haven't been buying a lot of new games. Yeah, Fire Emblem's great. I think the Fire Emblem figures are really nice. But I definitely have to pick and choose which characters because I feel like they're just gonna keep coming out with more and I'll have no room for those with all the other figures I collect. I'm glad you like the background music. Yeah, the Falcon songs are so chill. The battles and, well, I guess the overworld kind of Falcon music is usually pretty chill when you're exploring and things like that. But it gets a lot more hype when it's like the battle themes. But this playlist is more of the relaxing type because I feel like it probably works more with my speaking voice than the more action ones. Yeah, I don't know how long the stream will be. I might have to do this in parts as well if you guys are interested. We'll see. Oh, Skycatcher Gaming, thank you for becoming an Orbital Initiate. I did just recently open my memberships and I've been having fun trying to, you know, how to coordinate those and make them a little more interactive with my streams. So this stream today was actually selected by my membership tiers that have the kind of poll to help me decide what sort of games to prioritize. And so today they selected a Trails model kit building stream for Saturday here. So I'm definitely going to have that more of a fixture, I think, on this channel where I'll have one of the days of the week members choose what stream to do. Oh, and Spirit Beaver, also, thank you for becoming a Orbital Initiate. I appreciate it. Yes, right now we are using the OpSpot Tiny 2 4K webcam in this live, and I really like it. It's been it's been so easy to use. Before I had a more complicated camera setup where I had to position it every time, and it kind of put me off of making videos. So this has made it a lot easier to make. So have I seen One Piece Film Red yet? I've not seen it yet. I want to watch it very soon. It was definitely one of the One Piece films that looked more interesting because some of the earlier ones were a little bit less interesting to me. But it looks like a lot of fun. And I saw that there's going to be some live stuff coming, so that's very neat. Am I going to buy the Trails trading card game? I'm hoping to, because they've actually just announced recently that it's coming out in English, and so I would definitely want to collect, I think, the English ones. I was tempted to buy the Japanese ones, but then I had to import them, and along with all my other hobbies, you know, trading card games could be very expensive to collect, but it's really exciting that it's coming in English, so looking forward to that. Am I streaming on a regular schedule now? Not really. It's going to be, next week is also not going to be a regular schedule. So what I've been doing is, I think on Sundays, I'll post my streaming schedule for the week, so you can kind of see if those times align with you or not. And it'll probably vary week to week, what I've been up to. And because I'll be gone for like basically half of next week, I'll be in South Carolina. It's kind of why it's not going to be so regular at the moment, but maybe eventually. Sonic Tonic, I'm glad you could catch me live here, and you just beat Trails of Cold Steel 4 last night, and you're still trying to process it all. I feel ya. Did you get to the so-called secret ending? Definitely, I encourage you to, if you haven't done that, do that ending, because it makes a little bit more sense than the initial ending they give you. But now you're ready for Trails into Reverie, which is one of my favorite games in the whole Trails universe. Yeah, parts, yeah, maybe we'll do parts in this. I think it'll be fun. We'll see how it goes. So Spear Bear says, I've been a huge Trails nerd for years, played the PSP fan translations on my phone even, and I'm glad my channel is like ASMR. I get this comment quite often that I sound like ASMR, which is cool. It's unintentional, but I guess that's just how I talk and how it comes across. And yes, the model kits definitely have sparked my interest for more kind of Gundam hobbies and watching at least some Gundam anime. And earlier, the Super Robot Wars game was mentioned, and I have an interest in trying that out. So I think Gundam stuff's pretty cool. And I meant to order these things, but then I got distracted by chat. Yeah. Let's see. What does orbalology mean by, or Crit Shaft asked that. How did you come up with your name? So orbalology is directly related to Trails. And what's really cool about the whole Trails universe is they have this kind of energy system. So everything is mostly powered by orbments. And so they use orbal technology in order to power things up. And it's really cool, the evolution of the whole kind of orbment system in all the different Trails arcs and the different regions of kind of the whole Zumeria universe or continent they have there. So the, I guess, study of orbals or orbalology is kind of what I came up with. I know it's maybe not the best name for a channel, especially if you're unfamiliar with the Trails universe, but I thought it had a nice ring to it, so I stuck with it. Oh, I didn't know Super Robot Wars had model kits to put together. Something else to investigate if I happen to enjoy the games. So, more things to spend money on. Let's see. Gundam Wing still has the coolest Gundams. The entire internet can fight me. Well, Spirit Beaver, I'll have to watch it, and I'll have to see if I fight you or not. Yeah, I guess whenever you see ology at the end of something, you always think it's some sort of biological or, you know, one of those types of scientific studies, but no. It's similar, right? Like energy is kind of sounds like a science, so, but it's not quite biology related. There are so many pieces to this. I think my desk is too small to properly lay them all out, but that's all right. We'll get through it, or at least part of it today. I'm thinking this may have been too ambitious of a build for the amount of time I might be live streaming, but we'll see. Because I'm hoping just to maybe do 3 or 4 hours, but I might have to go longer. We'll have to see today. Or if I get too fatigued, because that would be my longest stream. Because so far, I think my longest stream has been 4 hours playing Psychonauts. And that turned out to be 4 hours. I think I intended it to be more closer to like 3 or 3.5, because I was determined to beat the Milkman stage, which was fun. And for those wondering, I am going to continue my Psychonauts stream next week. I'm hoping actually to finish it by Monday. Maybe that's overambitious, but I feel like we're right towards the end, and hopefully the platforming won't get me or give me so many issues now that I'm a little bit more familiar with the controls, because I definitely was struggling a bit with some of the platforming elements and remembering which button was which for like floating and things like that. Okay. I think I have these all sorted where they should be easier to find, but if not, I'll have to hunt around, and you guys will just watch me hunting around for pieces. But let's start now with instruction number 1, which is using the A and Q frame. So I need to hunt down pieces A1, A2, and Q13. And whenever you're using these model kits, these little kits are very affordable, I would say, and kind of essential to build these. So what I usually like to do is I'll use one of these cutters to just directly cut the pieces of plastic out of these frames. And then I go and use a X-Acto knife to help shave off the piece so it doesn't have any kind of rough feel to it. Some people you don't necessarily have to go to that extent to build model kits. You could also use like a file to help shave down and make a smooth edge after you cut, but I feel like I have a bit more precision using a X-Acto knife, and I'm used to using one of those, so it shouldn't be too bad. Let's see, Spirit Beaver. It's a shame there isn't a Sharon figure yet. Licensed to print money. Honestly, they just need to make more and stop repeating the same characters. I will gladly play for all of the characters if they decide to release them. Hello, Alex. Happy Saturday to you too. Let's see. Gundam 0084 is the pocket. Kind of old, but only 6 episodes. So that intrigues me. I'm always down for a shorter experience that it feels, nice and complete. Awesome show will help you go down the rabbit hole. Okay, so I'll definitely keep that one in mind. Because I think of the kind of semi-related mecha anime, like I've seen Code Geass, that was like a long time ago. That's due for a rewatch actually. And like Evangelion. So those are kind of the only mecha type shows I've seen so far. But yeah, today I am building, it's like a figure, and it's kind of like an action figure, but when it comes to these model kits, they're very fragile. You don't want to move them around too much. So usually what you want to do is kind of build it and stick it somewhere where you already have it posed and painted and everything. It's not going to move after you build it. And it's actually something very tricky to dust because of how fragile they are. And so using a very small brush like the one I shared earlier, so one of these lighter ones for a lighter touch when you're dusting them, does the trick. Or you could also get it like a Detolf case so that it's not going to, like, you don't have to dust it as regularly, and you don't have to run the risk of accidentally knocking it over and having it break. So yeah, I guess to not complicate things, I'll have this in the background and we'll hide Steel Maiden for another day. So this is what I'm building. Five more days until Donkey Kong Bonanza releases on the Switch 2. So it's very soon. And I hope it's another banger for Nintendo, because they need some wins, right, of exclusive Switch 2 games for people to play. And it's made by the Mario Odyssey team, so it's very promising that it'll be a great game. Full Metal Panic is really good, but it ended on a cliffhanger. Is there a manga? So maybe, like, I'm okay with shows having cliffhangers as long as there's source material I could go and actually read and find out what happens. But when it's just, you know, a cliffhanger and you don't know what happens, I try to avoid those whenever possible. Dan says Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny are my favorites, and the Gundams are top tier. Yeah, Gundam Seed has been on my list for a while. I actually need to just sit down and watch it. That's the one I keep hearing about as a good kind of intro to the whole Gundam universe. Yum Yum Game. I'm watching your videos since 2022, so that's when I started. As far as you collect video games, what was the most expensive game you've ever purchased? So my most expensive game is probably the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Collector's Edition, because I had to get that aftermarket, and so I paid in the 200 something range for that. But I try not to buy too many expensive games. Usually like $100 is my limit when it comes to most games. And I also strive to try to get them discounted whenever possible. So that's also sort of why you see a lot of more modern games behind me rather than a lot of retro games. Because I would say I started kind of collecting again during the 3DS era when I was in grad school, and I didn't really have the funds to buy a lot of games for collecting purposes until later on when I was kind of working more. And so at that point, it was mostly like the retro market was way too expensive. And so that's why I kind of focused more on modern games. And I really like modern games, so it wasn't too bad. And we're getting so many remakes and remasters. It's kind of the best of both worlds in some respects, to be able to experience some cool retro games, but on modern hardware. There's, of course, pros and cons to that. And that's actually going to be the topic of our panel next Saturday at Siege. So the panel that I'll be doing along with my co-hosts and Mark from My Life in Gaming. So it should be a good panel, and we're hoping to maybe figure out how to record that so that those who are interested in how the panel went can go watch it and see what we talked about. But we might just have to do an episode on that topic and invite Mark back on the podcast to do it again, if that doesn't work out. Yeah, model kits are fun, I think. The 1 out of 144 Gundam kits. Yeah, it's usually the skill, right? Like it's around 1 out of 120, 144. I'm still trying to figure out how the skills system works with the mecha kits. But yeah, they made Trails ones, which is kind of what spurred me to this hobby. And I need to be focusing. So you can't really see me cut, but I try to angle it so that I have a nice clean cut when I snip these out. So this is my A1 piece and A2 piece. And you know, it's always like a weird angle you have to sometimes cut them at. But you can make it work. And there's always a X-Acto knife if you kind of messed up slightly to help make it even cleaner cut. So 2 of my A pieces, and then I'll have to cut down, where did the cues go? But yeah, I think the design's really cool. If you think Trails figures are a problem, try being a Genshin fan. Yeah, the Hoyoverse stuff, they've been ramping up figures. I'm into a little bit of Honkai Star Rail, and they're starting to ramp up all of those figures. Let's see. There is a manga from that show that had a cliffhanger, but it's not translated. How could the fans leave that untranslated? That's disappointing. Let's see. Are you still in search of Xenosaga games, specifically 2 and 3? So those are more expensive, but I would say Xenosaga 2 I would consider getting, because that's more in the $50 range. So if I find a vendor who has that and maybe do a bundle deal, I might try to grab that this coming weekend, but 3 is definitely out of my price range. I'm just going to wait for a remaster before attempting to get some sort of copy of 3 there. So where are the cues? This is like, I think the biggest struggle of building these is trying to remember which part is where. And the cue is right now escaping me, which is not good, since I definitely need cue in this first part here. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Okay, here's the cues. So I need, I believe it was 13. Yeah, cue 13. So the last piece on this. Then, before I put these together, I use a X-Acto knife just to clean it up a little bit. And thankfully, it doesn't look like this needs to be cleaned up that much. You have to be very careful when doing this, of course, whenever you're handling a knife this close. I have a lot of experience using X-Acto knives, so I'm not too worried about cutting myself, but if you do not, definitely use a lot of caution when trying to do this. And probably don't be distracted by having a chat going while you're doing it. That's the idea. Yeah, the Xenosaga 3 lenticular is beautiful. And then oh, hi Mort's Garage. Thanks for stopping by. Glad to see you here. And I'm gonna see you next weekend. We're both gonna be at Siege, which is exciting. We're both from California, but haven't met in person. So it'll be cool to meet each other on the other side of the US for the first time. Have I ended up playing more Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth? I have not, and I feel bad that I'm behind, but I want to get to that, definitely. I don't know when, because my fall is going to be very ambitious. I might try to squeeze that in the summer, so that might be a good game for me to play next. Would you guys like to watch me play Final Fantasy VII Remake on stream? I don't know if I'll play all of it on stream, because it is a long game, but at least some of it might be fun. But yes, I agree. So many JRPGs, so little time. It's been my motto, but they're still fun to collect and admire at the very least. And someday we might get to them. Someday. That's what retirement's for, right? Let's see. Have I played Valkyria Chronicles yet? No. It's another one. It's on my list. I have behind me. Someday I'll get to it. Would I play Final Fantasy VII Remake into Rebirth? Well, maybe. We'll see how, if you guys like it, like watching me play it, I would consider it, of course. I've played the Final Fantasy VII OG. Was that last year I did that? All the years are, you know, becoming a blur now since I started YouTube. I forget what year I played what game or which game. But I did also play Crisis Core Reunion, which I really enjoyed. That's how I came to really enjoy Zack's character in particular. So I need to finally play the new remake and rebirth game. So I'm seeing some, interest in a Final Fantasy VII remake stream. Yeah, I think that could be fun. Though, am I going to get... I hear, like, you know, on Twitter how they always have people talk about the shipping wars and how they get so mad at streamers for not liking their ship. Is that going to happen to me if I do that? Like, I'm not a hardcore shipper, but I would probably, like, say something just to make people angry. Which I don't know if that's a good idea or not. But I'm probably not that high profile of a streamer to get that much heat from that particular fandom, but who knows. On the PS5 version or PC, I have the remake on PS5 and I have Rebirth both on PS5 and PC. I still need to figure out how to stream on my PS5. I know it's supposed to be pretty easy. I just haven't put in the time to learn how to do that. But we shall see. I might do just a poll for everyone to choose my next RPG game on this channel. So I could definitely put remake as a possibility. If you guys have other games you'd like to see me potentially stream, let me know. Yeah, so JRPGs, I appreciate the value, not monetarily, just the value of what the games hold and, you know, the possibility of entering this new world and playing it someday. That's what I value, because JRPG stories are just so cool. And it kind of sucks how, like, on the retro market, a lot of niche JRPGs that didn't get a lot of copies printed back in the day, how expensive some of them are now. But I think with, you know, modern JRPGs, it's not the case as much because they're a little bit more popular and mainstream, I would say, than they used to be. So I'm not too worried about them being too expensive. And if they are expensive, you know, to buy physically, there's at least the digital or PC version to consider. Did I play any of the Mana games? I've only played Trials of Mana Remake, and I would like to play more. And I only played a little bit of that remake. I'll need to, I think, play some more at some point. And choose maybe some of the other characters and see how their whole routes go. And yeah, this is a lot more complicated to do on stream than I imagined doing. But I hope you guys are having fun watching me struggle a little bit. But we have the first piece put together here. I know it's really small. I'll have to consider getting a second camera so you guys can see up close what I'm doing. Let's see. Yeah, Bandai Namco ported by Tenkaidos. And that's less popular than Xenosaga, so maybe it would come. I think there's a possibility, especially after what they did with Future Redeemed, the DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And Nintendo and Bandai Namco, I would say, have a pretty good relationship, so it's definitely, I think, a possibility that we would see some sort of remaster, or at least a port come out. The question is are they going to change things in the second game or not? Ender Lilies is a good streaming game. I do have that on the Switch. Metroidvanias I have less experience with, so I'll probably struggle with that, but that's all right. I've seen more, yeah. People interested in the remake. So that's good. JRPG Worlds are amazing. They got me back into gaming after a long time. Yeah, I would say same for me too. Well, that and Zelda, which I would say is kind of RPG adjacent. Have I picked up Clair Obscur yet? Yes, I played it. I've not picked up a physical copy. I only have it on PC right now, but I plan on getting on the PS5 at some point. It keeps going in and out of stock, so I'm just being patient because I've already beat it. So I don't need to grab a physical right away. And it seems like Sandfall, or I think that's what they're called, but Studio, they keep reissuing it. So I'm not too worried about getting a copy of that eventually. And hey, maybe they'll make a DLC, or they'll make DLC and then have some sort of complete edition at some point. So I think it kind of pays sometimes to be a patient collector. So you don't have to double dip all the time. Especially because we've been seeing, you know, just so many games getting reissued or different versions come out. Erica asked, will I make a video on the remake of Trails in the Sky and the OG one? Like what you did and did not like, for example. I would definitely consider it. I actually really want to play the remake on stream. So that's kind of why I started streaming, just to practice so I could play the Trails in the Sky remake on here with you guys. So I would definitely probably make content outside of that because this has been one of my most anticipated games of the year. And I'm really excited to see how the remake, how it compares, because I haven't played the OG one, which I guess for reference, I played the Evolution version on the PS Vita, like in 2018. So the comparison will be a little bit different maybe than when people compare the PSP or just the one that's on Steam specifically. Yeah, I need a capture card for streaming on consoles, so that's also why I've just been kind of sticking to my Steam library when it comes to what games to stream on here. Did I so Dragon's Crown, I've not played, though I have it on my shelf back there. But I like Vanillaware, so someday I'll like to play that. And I know that has a co-op mode, which is pretty cool in the PS4 version. And yeah, it's easier just to stream games on PC, I found. Like, I know if you have a capture card, it's not that much more difficult. It's just kind of getting there. There's a few more steps to do. And of course you have to buy it. I can't really adjust the camera angle, unfortunately, because I have my this webcam just mounted on top of my monitor right now. So consider this more of a chat stream rather than a true building one, because I've already been so distracted. I need to get my next piece out. I need to get B2 out. Next time, if I were to stream more builds, I will probably get a second camera to do a desktop version. And then B10. And that way you guys could judge how I cut these out. That's why I have to go with a X-Acto knife to clean them up, because they're not always the prettiest when I cut them. Okay, so it looks like I need to, some of these instructions could be kind of confusing. If you could see number 2 there, because I have to use the parts for number 1. So I think I have to reopen it and then insert this next part in. But I need the else next. Yeah, I'm much faster at building these, I guess, when I'm not on stream. When I could really zone in and not get distracted. But that's all right. We're here for the vibes, right? More of a vibes than a true model kit experience. This is more of like a model kit introduction. So you could see kind of what some of the process is like. There's the L's. Oops. I was asked, will be getting the Shizuna and Elaine figures. Yes, all the Trails figures have been pre-ordered by me. I'll be getting all of them. And that's why I also cleared up some space back there on that second lowest shelf. It's where all the new Trails figures are going. Have I played the translated Kai no Kaseki by chance? So that's the new Trails Through Daybreak game, which is they're calling Trails Beyond the Horizon. I've not played it. I was waiting for the localization that was supposed to come out this fall, but was pushed to January. So I'll just be patient. I hear it's like an amazing game, and so I want to experience it probably with the true localization rather than the fan translations, which are not bad way to experience the games, of course. I just have a preference with the localization. And we have, the Sky remake coming out this fall anyway. I'll be probably spending a lot of time with, as well as the new Digimon game. Like, there's so many games I have on my radar. So part of me was kind of glad it was pushed to January, the new game, so that I have time to play it right away. But I do want to know what, of course, goes on in that story, and seeing some familiar faces turn up in the Calvert arc that we've seen from previous games. Let's see. Yeah, we're here for the Bob Ross vibe, not the Bob Ross productivity. Yes. I think that's how you should go into this for sure. And hopefully you guys are maybe grinded away at a JRPG while watching, maybe. So we could both be somewhat productive, but not really, while we hang out. And also totally cool if you're not. It's the weekend. We're here to relax, right? I don't know about you guys, but I had a stressful week last week with some projects I was working on. So I'm glad it's the weekend finally. Yeah, the Siren model kit, I have it in the corner there. I keep looking at it and I keep feeling very intimidated because that seems a bit more complicated than these Good Smile Trails model kits. I have not seen the Ghost of Yote deep dive yet. I'm looking forward to that game. I don't know if I'll get to it this year because my plate's already kind of full, but maybe I'll at least check it out slightly, like the beginning parts. But we'll see. What have you guys been playing this week? What's been on your plate? I see some of you mentioned finishing up certain Trails games. Let's see, Otaku Dragoon 90 says they've been playing Persona 5 Royal. That's another game I need to play on my list. That one you need, at least 100 hours worth of game there. So you have to clear out a lot of time to play that game. Okay, so Spirit Beaver's doing some side stories in Genshin while chilling here. So yeah, I think that's how we're doing Saturday today. Just some chill stuff while we just do some mindless things and help keep our mind off of things. And I need to fix this. I can never figure out the right angle to put. I think I need to do a new format for how chat's showing up on screen. Someday I'll fix it or get it right. Let's see. Finished up Pokemon Violet. You're still in Exhibition 33. You're trying to finish 999. Oh, 999 is a game I need to play too because I'm really looking forward to the new AI game that's, done by the same guy later this month. I don't know if I'll get to it, but maybe it'll work out where I'll be able to stream it for you guys, maybe like the beginning of that game, because the AI games are so special, the Somnium Files games. Playing Trails in the Sky, that's the perfect game to play. I want to replay that game so badly now, but I had to wait for the remake, I think. Middle of Marvel Midnight Suns, nice. Picked up E's Memories of Solseta on the Steam sale. Yeah, I really liked Solseta. The vibe of that game, I felt like I had to fill out, the whole entire map making things. So it was just fun just roaming around all the different areas in the world and filling out the map. So it's a very chill vibe, I think, for Ease. Yeah, after a stressful work week, Animal Crossing on the Switch 2 is probably a great way to go. So can't go wrong with that. To wind down. Some more games from the Steam Summer Sale. Did you guys buy a lot of games on the Steam Summer Sale? I already have too many Steam games that I inherited through our shared family plan. So I ignored them. But I saw some good deals. Let's see. You bought Pal World, Amazing Spider-Man Near. Some good. Halo. Oh, I haven't played Halo since the 360 era. Was that Halo 2? I watched more of it than I played, but it was fun. It's definitely it was really cool back then in high school when that came out. Street Fighter 6 and Xenoblade X. Yeah, I think it's good to, if you really enjoy JRPGs or just RPGs in general, don't play them back to back all the time because you definitely can experience burnout. I tried to do other genres too. That's kind of why I wanted to do Psychonauts during stream as a kind of palate cleanser, and it's just a good game, so I've been enjoying streaming that. I've not played any of the Persona games, including Persona 5 Royal, so someday I'll get to them. That's why I consider myself someone who enjoys JRPGs, but I'm not a master at them. Someday I'll have more under my belt when I have more time. Watcher of Realms. I'm not familiar with that. Sounds interesting though. Hope you're having a nice weekend too. Persona 5 Royal took you 160 hours. Oh man, so much time. But I'm sure you loved every hour of it, right? Every minute. Yeah, the Ys games, I think, are still underrated. Like, everyone talks about Ys 8, which is a great game, but the other Ys games are great too. I need to play more of them too. I've been bad. I have a bunch of my backlog I need to actually play. But again, too many JRPGs, so little time. Balatro, that is a game I've purposely avoided so I don't get addicted, like I hear so many people get. Battlefront 2, oh, that brings me back. I played so much of that on the PS2. And then the Crash trilogy, nice. Yeah, I'm not passing on Persona. I'm just waiting, so whenever I have a month devoted to a game, I'll play Persona. And yeah, like, I thought about starting with Persona 3 Rerolled, but I already have Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 Royal, so I was thinking of starting with Persona 4 Golden first. Because I hear a lot of people think that, like, they consider that their favorite Persona game. So why not start with the best if I were to choose one? Though, of course, depending on who you talk to, everyone has different favorites. Oh, you finished Ys 10 in 3 days. That is, you probably zeroed in on that. I think that's really easy to do on Ys games because they're just so fun and it's hard to put down. And I'm curious what the Proud version is going to be like. And whenever that's coming to the West here, I still feel like that was a slap in the face when they released, or they finally localized Ys 10 here. And then they announced like a couple weeks later, oh, there's actually a new version coming out. Though, TBA for the West when they get it. Oh, Tokyo Xanadu 2, I think, has been announced through the shareholders meetings in Falcom, so it's coming at some point. Hopefully, I think it's going to come next year, but we'll see. They haven't announced anything, of course. Playing Age of Empires 2 for 20 years. That is some devotion there. But I'm glad there's a game out there that you'll always open and have fun with. For me, it's hard for me to, I think, spend too much time in one world, so I like to hop around a bit. So Trails, the whole Trails kind of universe is an anomaly for me. Of playing so many games in basically the same world. And that maybe speaks to why it's such a good game, at least for me. Yeah. Let's see, favorite is Persona 3, but 4 is the best. Yeah, I have Persona 4 Golden, both on the Vita and the Switch. I don't need both, but I decided to get both. So I'll have to play it on one of those platforms someday. Maybe the Vita, because I've been neglecting my Vita recently. Be nice to pull that out again. Yeah, if I ever disappear for a month, it's probably because I'm playing Persona. Don't be too surprised. Okay, now that's nice and done. Need to put these guys together somehow. I think we're putting together the face right now. Oh, he needs a little cleaning here because I cut him not as neatly as I thought I did. Yeah, model progress. Can't get distracted. I had to make some progress today. Because whenever you put a model kit down after, like, you know, in the middle of one, it can be hard to kind of pick up and like know where you left off, even if like you mark down what instruction point you're at. Because model kit building, you have to be kind of in the zone for, which is what I was kind of talking about earlier with being kind of almost hyper fixated on it. And it's kind of weird when you break that and you're still kind of in the middle of it. But unfortunately, with how things are going, that's probably going to be what will happen with me today, since I'm making such slow progress. But that's all right. It's all about the journey and having fun while doing it. Oh, you've only played your Switch 2 5 times? Oh, that's too bad. But that was kind of partly why I didn't get a Switch 2, because I knew I wouldn't put as much time to it as I would like. Because I have so many other games and projects and other things I have to do this month and last month. So it's there waiting for me to get eventually. But hopefully you could pick it up again and play some really cool Switch games on it. The Fuga trilogy is one that I've been very interested in. I hear it's very emotionally impactful, but also heartbreaking. So I feel like that's a game you have to, or the whole trilogy, you have to be in the right mindset to approach. Rebirth, it goes on sale somewhat regularly, right? Like Square Enix does have it on sale. I don't know if they had it this last time, but hopefully it'll go on sale again soon. Have I played in the Compile Hearts games before? I've not played the Neptunia games. And I have the Death End Request games, but I haven't played them yet. I'm not really sure if they're for me, but I feel like they'll be a fun sort of lighthearted RPG experience. So, someday. Oh, yes. Modding to Vita, I feel like, is almost vital if you are a Vita owner. Just with, there's so many possibilities you could have with a modded Vita, and having extra storage space especially is like essential, especially if you want to take it like traveling and things like that. And that's also how I experienced the Evo versions of the Trails in the Sky games. And you have to kind of have a modded Vita to play those because those games never came out in English. And so the fan translation patch could only work on a modded Vita. And the Evo versions are just so nice. I haven't played all the way through the Sky games on PC or the PSP version, but I feel like there's so many improvements in the Evo versions of those games. So I'm really glad I experienced them for the first time on there. Oh, thank you for following me on Instagram. I need to post more on there. I always forget to post things. I'm so bad. I think I'm too spread thin on some social media platforms. That's kind of why I decided to do streaming on YouTube and not on Twitch. I think at some point I might do some multi-streaming on both platforms because I know some people have a preference for live streaming on Twitch, but that's for the future me to figure out how that works. Emily, if you really had to choose, what platform would be your definite one to play games? PC, PS5, etc. That's hard to choose. Like, I would say when it comes to collection-wise and the amount of games I already own, I guess PC is the most because of the shared Steam library I have and just how cheap some of those games are. But I do like some of my exclusives, like on my 3DS, there's a lot of exclusives I like, and also on the Switch. But yeah, it's hard to choose just one console because I think it's definitely doable, right? You could get a lot of great experiences just on one console alone. You don't have to have multiple consoles like I do, and it's definitely more cost efficient probably to have just one console. Especially given how much time we have, right? I don't think we probably don't really need all the consoles, if we're being honest. But it's nice to have those different possibilities, and it's definitely, I think, a luxury that I'm grateful to have. But yeah, it's hard for me to choose just one. I would say of the consoles, excluding PC, maybe Switch has been my favorite, and maybe eventually the Switch 2 once I get that. But I really like playing games on my PS5 as well. Especially the more action-oriented ones. How do you decide what games to get physically versus digital? So I'm struggling with either building up my Switch physical library or playing games cheaper on Steam. That is the dilemma, right? I think a lot of us encounter, especially if we have a PC and, say, the Switch or some other console. And when it comes to physical media, I really like to just keep games that I love, and sometimes, of course, more efficient or cost-effective just to buy it one time. But if a game is really cheap, right, on Steam, sometimes it's nice to just see how that goes, like for indie games, for example, before investing in a physical, and see if you really want that in your library. When it comes to, I guess, more retail games that you're afraid of going out of print or something like that, or if it's more expensive later down the line. It's all a balancing act. Like, how much do you want this game to be in your physical library as physical media versus maybe the more rental mentality of having it on Steam, or you could also have it as or I guess own a game more on like GOG or any sort of other DRM-free platforms. So there's different possibilities, and I would just prioritize what you enjoy the most when it comes to collecting and playing. Do you like playing games on PC versus the Switch? Maybe just buying more games on there and just preserving some of them as physical media later on is something you could decide after, you know, they're games that you really like. But yeah, I think it's very much an individual's decision of how they want to go about it. That we can't all just have at one time. So I'm struggling figuring out how to put these together. So I got, I think, the face mounted on here. Now I need to stick it inside of what we just built. Still a little rough. I probably should sand. Sometimes the X-Acto knife isn't enough to kind of smooth out the edges, so you need to kind of go in with, this is more of like a hard file that I recommend not doing for the more delicate pieces. A file like this that has like a softer sort of, or like a smaller grain to it, is a good option to kind of do more of a smoothing, if you will, when it comes to some of these pieces, because there's one piece that just has something I don't want to cut off. It's gonna bug me if I keep it there and start building this out. So this is also kind of why the whole model kit process can be very slow, because I try to be very meticulous with some of these pieces. Like there's some pieces that you don't have to be this meticulous with because it's covered up when you put them together, but this is going to be showing, and it's like the guy's face. So I don't want this little hunk showing, if you will. So to be very careful when trying to shave this off. But have you guys ever built a model kit before? I know some of you guys mentioned earlier if you've partaken, or if you haven't built one before, do you have a desire to maybe try one in the future? The kit has some decals. It has just these that I could put on, but everything else is pre-painted. And I'm probably going to go with it with some markers later on, just to help make it look a little bit more like this, so where it's a little bit more flashy looking. But yeah, this is going to take me, I think, a few days to do, which is fine. It's all, again, model kits are not necessarily about the end product. It's the experience building them. It's fun. The backside of the X-Acto knife, that's probably a good tip for some of it, scraping it. Though I feel like I have a little bit more control when I have the blade out. Do you collect books, graphic novels as well? So I used to collect some books, but then I ran out of room and I had to prioritize. Do I want to collect games and figures more than books? So right now I'm mostly digital when it comes to books, unfortunately. Maybe when I move and I have like a devoted library, I would look into collecting more books. I just have a handful of books right now, but not too many. And most of the books I have that are, I guess, game related are all like art books. And so I've been enjoying collecting those and kind of prioritizing those rather than novels. Don't be too nervous about putting a scale figure together. Like, I feel like there's some really great starter ones you could try. And then it only gets easier over time. So we got his head. I don't know if this is going to focus. We are not very far here, but the head is put together. But yeah, let's make some more progress. So I'm on step 3. With L, I need to find the L's again. That was this one. Need L5, L1, and L2. So I'll cut these out. L1. It's been snipped. Then L2. And so I kind of already spoiled this for my channel members on our little community post in the YouTube tab, but I'm going to have a surprise stream tomorrow, I think. And it's not going to be model kit building. I might have to do this on my own. I'm going to admit, this is not the easiest thing to do on stream. I feel like if I was more skilled at figuring out how to balance chat while also doing this, it would go a little bit better. But yeah, I'm going to have a surprise stream. I'm going to probably make the announcement of what game it is after this stream ends. So be on the lookout for that. But for a hint of what the game is, I have right here a binder of my PS2 games. And so there's been a recent remake that's released. And I actually own the original game in here. So it's going to be kind of a nostalgic game again. It's not going to be a JRPG, but I thought it would be a fun kind of stream to do and just feel the vibes. And so if somebody guesses it, I'll share if you're correct. That's the game that we'll be streaming together tomorrow as a surprise stream. Oh, if you see in the back there, that's where my visual novels are of Holy Night and all those. And yes, I bought those on day 1 because those went out of stock very quickly. And I was a little bit bummed that the other Fate-related visual novel didn't get a physical release, but maybe eventually it will. I don't know. Someday. I don't know if this is easier than a 500-piece puzzle to put together, but if you follow instructions very well, it's, I think, very systematic of how you put these together. So I think anyone could do these as long as you're good at following instructions, and I think it's easier to follow these instructions, even though they're in Japanese, compared to, say, like IKEA builds, when you have to build furniture and stuff like that. And then I have to do L5. So we'll be done with the L's for now. And then I need to get P1, which has its own little lone piece here. So it's very simple. Yeah, I think Bandai has a lot of entry Gundam kits that are very easy. And I think the Pokemon ones are very easy too if you like Pokemon. Hello, Brody. Good afternoon. Raido is not one I played on the PS2. Unfortunately, I never actually played that many JRPGs on the PS2 back in the day. But that would be really cool to stream. Maybe someday when I get that, we could try it. Because I feel like not enough people are talking about that remaster, and it looks really good. But yeah, we are officially done with P, so I will put that on the floor and clear the desk. But yes, Tony Hawk is the game. So someone guessed it right away. But if I flip on, this is my shared PS2 collection of loose discs that my brother and I had. He's less interested in physical media, so that's why I have them. But we have Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 on the PS2, and Activision was nice enough to give me a code to stream, so we'll be doing that tomorrow. Revisiting Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and feeling those vibes, because it's been a long time since I played that game. But I remember how fun it was just, roaming around and listening to the soundtrack and all that. I don't remember how the challenge stuff went or any of that, but it'd be fun to rediscover that together if you guys are interested. Oh, I didn't realize those visual novel collector's editions are more expensive than Xenoblade 2C right now. Yeah, they didn't print many copies, which is a shame. And I think you could still get it physically, the Play Asia version or the Asian English one. It's going to be the standard edition, but at least you could get, if you like physical media, an option that way. Detroit Angel 313, halfway through Raito Remastered. It's really good. Well, I'm glad to hear. Someday I'd like to get to that, but we'll see. Have I ever fully finished a VN? Yes, I finished a couple of them. The issue is they do take a long time, and I don't feel compelled to read or play a VN if I'm reading something, and right now I've been a bit on a reading kick in addition to playing games. So I haven't had a VN in my kind of play session for a while, but I need to get back on that and start beating more of those because I really enjoy them. Yeah, it's too bad the original soundtrack isn't the same because that would have been, so nostalgic. But I understand with licensing issues, that's always the issue with, these games. So I'm glad they're able to bring it back in some capacity, even if those songs can't be added to the track list. Yeah, I remember they did say something about this game was going to be canceled, but it's really nice to see it pull through and finally come out. Did you guys ever play the 1+2 or the first and second remastered game? I never played that one, but I heard that was fun. Speaking of VNs, let's see, recommendation has been Until Then. I'll have to look into that one. I'm not familiar with that one. Skycatcher Gaming, I loved watching skateboard company skate videos back in the day. I didn't watch too many of those. There's I live in Southern California, so there's always been sort of that kind of skate surf culture here, especially growing up. So the whole kind of skate scene is very nostalgic for me, even though I never really partook. I did rollerblading as a kid, but that was kind of the extent. I never went surfing, even though I lived by the beach, and I didn't really do skateboarding. Outside of just playing on my brother's skateboard a little bit. I was more into, they had the Razor scooters back when I was really young. We had that. And of course, a bike. I actually won my first ever bike through one of those TV dinner contests randomly. So I think that's the first and only contest I've ever won that of a prize of that, I guess, substantial prize. So that was fun. But yeah, rollerblading, I did a lot of rollerblading when I was younger. Decked out with the whole helmet, elbow, knee pads, the works. LD, thank you for the super chat. Switch 2 started out hot, but kind of losing its hype. I think the more games it has, the more reason people will, look at the Switch 2 and be like, okay, this is, a contender of why it makes sense to make the switch from the OG Switch to the Switch 2. So I think it just needs time. Like most launch consoles, it takes a while for them to build a library. And given how long it's been, the hype, I guess, window for building up the Switch 2, I'm surprised they didn't have more, I guess, new games that they're hoping to launch with. Because a lot of them right now are just older games that maybe people have already played on other platforms. Of course, those who don't have other platforms, it's great for them to play it for the first time. But as I mentioned earlier, us with, I guess, too much disposable income who have multiple consoles, it's hard to kind of justify sometimes buying a new console if it doesn't provide that many more new experiences for us. Let's see. So Steins Gate Remastered. That is also on my docket. I have the Steins Gate games on the Vita. I need to play those because I also watched the anime and really love the anime. So I need to read it. Along with the other science adventure games. Yeah, the game key cards killed my hype for it as well. I won't lie. It sounds like Nintendo might be rethinking of their strategy concerning game key cards. We'll see if they follow through or not. I see plenty of people still buying them, so they must not be losing that much, but we'll see what happens. What is my favorite anime? If I watched any, I've definitely watched anime. I like anime. My favorite right now has to be Apothecary Diaries. I've been really into that series the last couple years. And then some other recent ones I've been watching. I liked Free Ren a lot. I'm excited for season 2 coming out next January. And I've also been watching recently Windbreakers, which is something I didn't think I would like, but it's oddly addicting. It's fun and kind of wacky. And I've been a long time enjoyer of One Piece, so that's probably my favorite anime. Because I've actually stuck to it and watched all the episodes. So it's been fun. Yum Yum Games, thanks for the super chat. Switch 2 is still too shiny new. The downsides are the key card situation and the micro SD express card. I agree. Given how large the game files are, like, everyone's gonna have to, buy external memory at some point, and I'm also waiting for the prices of that to drop, because if we're gonna have game key cards where we can have the game stored on the physical cart, we have to rely on the internal and external memory of the Switch 2. It's gonna run out very fast, especially if you wanna buy a lot of games for a system and, make it worth investing in. Yeah, there's plenty of people buying the Switch 2, for sure. I think there are plenty of reasons to buy one. For me right now, it doesn't make sense, but I eventually want to get one. I've not watched Dan Da Da Dan. I want to, because I hear it's ridiculous. And I think the season 2, right, just started recently. Oh, speaking of, there's a lot of new, seasons that I'm interested in. Like, I think Kaiju number 8, season 2, starting this month, or maybe it already has. But I want to continue that because I really enjoyed the first season. My Dress Up Darling is also, I think, getting season 2 this month, or I think it already started. I need to catch up on that one because despite, I guess, the pervy humor, it was still a fun watch. I'm curious how season 2 goes. There's some other ones recently, but yeah, I've always enjoyed anime. I kind of go in and out of it, just like a lot of hobbies. Like I zero in and kind of binge a bunch, and then there's some that I need a break. But yeah. Oh yeah. Of course I've watched anime if I'm a One Piece fan, though it's possible I would have just read the manga and I'm a fan. But no, I've been lazy with the manga. I need to someday catch up and read it all. And go back and reread it. Someday. All those science adventure games are on my docket. I have too many games I want to play and not enough time. Because here's me streaming with building this model kit very slowly. So time is definitely an issue for me. Yeah, Call of Duty is going to be a big one. Along with, all those other things. What's the issue with the micro SD express cards right now for the external storage is they're expensive. Like, 1 terabyte is like in the 250 range. So it all adds up, right? The Switch 2 was 450 before tax, and then you have to buy almost half that price. You have to buy, you know, if you want adequate storage for the huge size of games. So hopefully that will eventually go down in price. Hello, Ellie. Doing well. How are you doing? Trin, I've made my peace that I won't be able to own all modern games physically. I'll just buy really good games that I want to play and skip others. And I have plenty of other games to play. Yeah, I think that's a wise, you know, realistic approach to game collecting and buying. Like, we're probably not going to all get to the games we want to play, which is okay. Like, that's not, I think, a bad thing. But we should be a little bit realistic how we want to approach it sometimes, and be a little bit more deliberate what we want to add to our collections, and all that. Curate our experiences. Have I seen Kakurio Bread and Breakfast for Spirits? No. I haven't heard of that one. What's that one about? I'd like to hear. It sounds interesting. Sounds like a cozy show. Do I have any gaming subscriptions? I technically have the Nintendo Switch Online, but I'm kind of doing a family plan with that, with my podcasts, and we're trying to do more like online games to kind of justify that cost. So would I pay for that subscription by myself with only me? No, but it does kind of make it more manageable if you do the family plans. I'm not really on any other subscriptions other than I did recently get YouTube Premium, but that was also through a family shared plan and partially for the podcast expenses. So am I technically paying for it? Yes, but no. It's hard to justify subscription services. If there's a subscription service you use like daily and it makes sense, something to consider. I think there are a few ones that if I had to pay for it, I would maybe consider. Like YouTube Premium's been really nice without the ads, I won't lie. And there's some other nice features like YouTube Music that I've been using a lot because I don't have Spotify. And some other kind of neat features. Like you could do, I think, 3 or 4 times speed on your phone if you wanted. Though it's usually a little bit too fast for me to hear. So the Nintendo Switch 2 only has limited space. It's like, I think the internal storage is 250 gigabytes. But if you look at some of the games, like if you have games that are like 100 gigabytes big, like I think there's going to be some very large games coming to the Switch 2. Like I don't know how much Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be, but it's going to be a lot. So it's going to add up. And I think it's going to be a pain to uninstall games, reinstall it. Like, managing storage is not fun. Yum Game said, just imagine the Switch 2 has an MVE instead of an SD card, where it's easy to get lost. People will buy a lot of digital games on the Switch 2 for sure. Yeah, I was thinking, I kind of wish the Switch 2 did like a similar approach to the PS5, where you can maybe insert your physical game and it makes a copy on there, instead of, you know, and they could like really focus on optimizing the storage space rather than worry about game key cards and things like that. But I'm sure there's reasons for why they didn't do that approach. And Kalex, thank you for becoming an Orphaned Architect. That is our highest tier, and I greatly appreciate the support. And it's nice to see you here on stream. And Matthew, hello. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, 256 gigabytes. So, like I think someone mentioned earlier, when you install Call of Duty, it's gonna take up like most of that space, right? Of your internal storage. So you're gonna have to buy some sort of external card. was asked, are you familiar with the Chinese handheld market on AliExpress? I used my Switch 2 money to buy a Retroid Pocket 5, and it's great. I've definitely been curious. Like, I've been looking at those Miiu I think it's Miiu. Yeah, the Miiu Mini they had a couple years ago, and they have like all these other kind of handhelds that are very similar. They look fun. I'm sure like if you do a lot of handheld gaming and you want to emulate games, it's a good device. For me, I actually have the Analog Pocket, which is hardware emulation, and it's kind of preferable to emulate games on there if possible. It's more expensive, of course, but there's definitely, I think, some great budget, emulated handheld options that you could play. Of course, you can't play, a lot of the new 3D games on there, but if you like more of those kind of cozy retro experiences, definitely something to consider. So Kakario, I'm not saying this right. I'm so bad at pronouncing names. I had to like hear how people pronounce it before I attempt it. So, but it's such a wholesome, heartwarming slice of life anime. He radiates similar vibes as the main character. Oh, I do. I'll have to try and watch it and see if that's the case. Season 2 is coming out later this year. Oh, that's cool. So I might try to time it where if I really like the first season, I'll then hop on to the second season. So definitely check it out. I'm always down for a slice of life anime. Can't really find any other kind of watching experiences like a slice of life anime, so I like to watch them every now and then. It's good to break it up with, all the popular shonen and stuff like that. Are you excited for the Lego One Piece sets? Yes, I ordered the Going Merry, the ship one, and that would be fun to build on stream. Actually, I think I'll be more productive if I were to try to build that on stream compared to these model kits, which I am so slow at. I think that would be fun. But I have that one pre-ordered, and I think it's coming out soon, right? Is that coming out in August? Yeah, I think it's coming out in August. So don't be surprised if I have a One Piece model Lego set build stream. Hopefully I'll be more productive in that one. That means you'll stick with one game at a time and will actually finish your games. Yeah, that is the thing. I think Rebirth happens scaled down on Switch 2, and they're bringing Remake. Yeah, they're definitely gonna, I think, like, it's true, like, if you look at Cyberpunk, that's like a massive game that they're able to fit on that 60 gigabyte cartridge. Like, it's definitely possible if they want to optimize, the storage, but I think a lot of these third-party publishers are not optimizing their games. And so storage will definitely be an issue at some point. Let's see. I should add, you should be added to Fortnite. I do have, this is added to, I brought up the Lego One Piece sets. Is that related to Lego, or should I play Fortnite? Because actually I recently started playing Fortnite with my dad. My dad, he plays 2 games. He really likes Half-Life 2 multiplayer. He has his own little group of buddies that they play a couple times a week in their server that they maintain, and it's actually really cute. My dad is in his 70s for context, but he has always been a gamer. When I was first introduced to video games, so back when I was 5 or so, when I was playing, those Among Us entertainment games like Putt Putt or Freddy the Fish, he was always playing games that we picked up at the drugstores too. I think he played a lot of World War II sort of shooting games. I can't say exactly the titles of what he was playing, and I think even before that, probably when I was not sitting next to him, because we used to play games kind of sitting next to each other. He was into Laser Suit Larry. I think he mentioned ordering that from a catalog back in the day. That was one of his first video games. But yeah, outside of Half-Life 2, he's really into Fortnite. And so we've been playing doubles together on no build, and it's been fun. I need to get a little bit better at it. I'm okay. Like, it's been a while since I had played like a third or even first-person shooter game. We used to play Wolfenstein, or Return to Castle Wolfenstein multiplayer and Enemy Territory back in the day when I was in high school. But it's been fun kind of going back and trying other genres of games because I've been stuck on visual novels and RPGs for the past few years. But let's add these pieces now to the head we built. And making sure I have this correct. Oh man. Okay, so I have this piece that I think just sticks right on top of the head. My mom's, oh no, I dropped a piece and it's in the carpet where I probably won't be able to find it easily. Oh man. Should I attempt to find it? Oh no. Where did it go? This is the problem with having like a darker color as your carpet, and I just dropped a dark gray piece down there. Somewhere. It's not immediately jumping out to me. Well, I might need to put a pause on this build because of that. But we could chat, which I've been mostly doing during this whole stream. So the whole model kit building, unfortunately, seems like a lie. But yeah, my dad's cool. And he still plays, games to this day. He's actually pretty good at Fortnite. He definitely leads our team. And he gives me all the little tips and tricks he's learned along the way. He's been playing, let's see, the last few years now, and he's been kind of bugging me to play with him. And I never really had like the ability to play with him until I got this PC. And then we were trying to figure out like, a good time to play it with each other. But yeah, it's been fun. You watched the live action one for One Piece. Yes, I did. And so that's what the Lego set is based off of, is the live action. And I really enjoyed the live action. I'm looking forward to season 2, which will cover some of my favorite arcs. Like I love the Alabasta arc in particular, where we are first introduced to Robin, who's my favorite One Piece character. And it's interesting how they CGI'd Chopper, what they shared of that so far. There are new texture compression techniques that are coming just to PC gaming. Will be interesting to see if they make it to consoles eventually. And that could help drastically decrease games install size. So that's possible. I think that would be a good idea, especially if we're gonna have, more devices like the Switch coming out and more handheld gaming options. Yeah, the Laser Suit Larry game is definitely an adult game. I was not in the room when he played that. He told me after the fact, a couple of years ago, when we were reminiscing about being first introduced to games. I don't know how large Cyberpunk is on Steam with the DLC. For some reason, I thought it was much larger than 70 gigabytes, but I could be wrong. Oh, yeah. Medal of Honor is definitely a game he picked up, I think from the drugstore in that era. I do remember my brother and him used to play that a lot together. I didn't play that one, really. I think I mostly watched. It wasn't until Return to Castle Wolfenstein I played more of the shooter games with him. But yeah, my mom doesn't play video games. I got her into Monument Valley a bit when she had her first tablet, like years ago. And she liked that one because she likes puzzles. But yeah, video games are just nothing she's ever been interested in, which is fine. Like, video games don't have to be for everyone. And she doesn't, she never really nagged us about playing them. She always, just appreciated that we were into something, which is always good to see. But yeah, was a graphic designer, and she's very artsy. So I thought Monument Valley would be a great game for her, and yeah, she really liked it. I'll have to show her more of them, because there's now Monument Valley 2 and 3, which she hasn't played. Maybe I'll ask her if she's interested. Okay. I am behind. So Spirit Reaver, my parents definitely do not understand my hobbies. If they saw some of my figures and game collection, they would probably disown me or only see me at Christmas. Yeah, when my parents have come to my apartment here, they look at my wall, they're like, that's interesting. They are big collectors though, so I think they understand collecting. Like, my dad is really big into collecting vintage guitars, but he's definitely more minimalistic than my mom. My mom was really into collecting specifically California pottery. So there's all these different designers that were really big like a few decades ago, and she had a lot of fun going to like garage sales and thrift store hunting and just buying up pottery. And so we have a lot of art and pottery at my parents' house. So they also kind of have that maximalistic aesthetic going on in their place. But also kind of curated. So I probably get my collecting bug a bit from them, though they don't collect the things I do, which is fine, but they are definitely collectors themselves. Let's see, must have been nice to play video games with your dad. Did you used to play video games with your mom too when you were a kid, or just your dad? Yeah, as I mentioned, my mom didn't play video games, which is fine. She probably was judging internally, but I think she was still kind of cool after a while. Seeing that they're more than just, mindless games that people play. Like, it's better to, I think, play video games and watch TV in some respects. They use a little bit more, thinking to play. And I think she kind of figured that out early on. What do I find parts to throw somewhere? Yeah, I probably could. I think I'm gonna have to find this off stream. It's really small and I don't know where it fell. Actually, is this it? No, that is not it. It's somewhere down there. I probably rolled, which is not good. Soul Leveling will have a live action series cast by Korean actors. Yeah, so Soul Leveling was a webtoon in Korea, even though it has an anime, and I think they also did like a Japanese adaptation for the anime. But I was really into K-dramas for a while, especially during grad school. I still watch some K-dramas today, not as much as I used to, but I'm really curious what the production quality is going to be like in that, because there's some very flashy scenes in Soul Leveling, so it'd be kind of cool to see how they adapt that and how the actors go. Do I own any of the Grandia games? Yes, I have the HD Remastered Collection on the PS4. Yeah, I think a Lego building is probably better than the model kit, because then I don't have to be too worried about my X-Acto knife hitting me. What isekai anime series would you wish there would be a video game adaptation of? I'm not sure. Like, there are some that have video games already. Like, I know Sword Art Online has one, or a couple. Quite a few, actually. I've never played them. But what are isekai games? I know Solo Leveling just got a video game, right? I think is it a gacha game or something like that? I think there are a lot of cool like shonen games that would be really cool as an RPG rather than a fighting game. That's my wish. So not necessarily an isekai anime, but it'd be cool to see more of like a traditional RPG, kind of like what we saw with One Piece Odyssey, even though that was a whole new story and they did kind of their own twist to it. But I think more games like that would be fun. I know recently, what was it, this month, there was this anime that got a game through Konami, was it? I'm not too sure, but I'm totally blanking on the title. Something Eden. That game got one. That'll be interesting. Oh, Dr. God, thank you for sending or gifting a membership. Appreciate that. I really enjoyed the solo leveling anime. Like the first few episodes, it took me a while to warm up to it, but then it started going and it was really fun. That actually what's led me to actually read the whole entire manhwa, which is also fun. I think it's better than the anime, but usually fans say that, right? Where they watch the anime and then they read the source material, like the source material's better. It seems to be the case, especially with like movies and things like that. But it only took me a few days to read, so it's a nice short experience, and there's some really cool things when it picks up what happens. I have a couple playlists playing. I don't have this on shuffle. I just have some going. Falco music. Who's your favorite Calvard Arc character from the Trail series? It has to be my boy Van. I love Van. I think he's one of the best characters in Trails. Next to him, I like Elaine. So, but all the, I think, Calvard Arc characters are pretty good. No complaints there. Have I played GTA 4? No, but I did watch San Andreas a bit back in the day. Yeah, Eden Zero was the game I was thinking of, which I think it's coming out soon, maybe in the next few days, if it hasn't already come out. It's not getting that much fanfare, so I'm curious how it is as a game. But maybe we'll hear more about it. I never actually watched that show or the source material. And I did see that Ryza DX collection is coming, so it has exclusive DLC, but it's going to be, it's interesting. I think it's only going to be digital in the West, but in Asia, they will have physical releases. But for some reason, the Asian version on Switch is not going to have English, but the PS5 version will have English. So if you want to collect it, it sounds like you could get the PS5 version, which is also region free. So I'm kind of surprised they decided to do that, but when they did the other collections, like the Mysterious Trilogy and the Dust Trilogy, those got physical Switch releases only, so it's kind of curious they're switching it up now to PS5. But if you saw the new Atelier game that's coming out this fall, the one that's based off of the Gacha Games world, that's also only getting the PS5 physical. So I'm thinking Koei Tecmo is just trying to avoid all Switch releases right now when it comes to physical releases, because they don't want to deal with the game key cards, which is understandable, but it kind of sucks that at least the regular Switch is not getting the physical. But maybe those won't run that well, so that's why they're avoiding it. But who knows? A Hunter x Hunter RPG game would be amazing, especially the some of the earlier arcs. Like, why am I blanking on the names? Was it Greed Island or something like that? That would be really cool. Yes, Apothecary Diaries Season 2 is amazing. It's so fun. I need to read the light novels for those. I really enjoyed the anime, and then I read the manga, which is basically a one-to-one of the anime. But they're originally light novels. I need to read those. Are you pulling for Saber and Honkai Star Rail? I think eventually. I actually used up all of my tickets for why can't I pronounce his name? Fion? So I got him, and I don't have enough probably for Saber for a while, and I want to get his light cone. But I think what's nice about the Fate and Honkai Star Rail collab is that the Saber banner, as well as, I guess, if you want duplicate archers, there doesn't seem to be a deadline right now of when that will end. So I think after getting Fion's light cone, I'll try for Saber. It just kind of sucks that there's no voice acting at all if you're playing in English. Like, they could have just added the Japanese, you know, voice actor lines to them, because they weren't going to have English anyway. So it's just kind of weird they're mute. But it's still a cool collab. And yeah, I'm still playing Star Rail a little bit. I'm not as adamant at playing it as I was for a little bit there, trying to, you know, do all my dailies and things like that. But I've played it here and there. It's been fun as like a side game, though. Story-wise, I'll admit I haven't been as invested in compared to the last Worlds kind of arc with Pentacoli. Persona 5 versus Metaphor. I haven't played Persona 5, so this is an unfair comparison. I do like Metaphor, and I need to actually finish Metaphor. I'm very close to finishing it, but I kind of want to replay it, which does not help my backlog at all. And I did play Daybreak 2. I enjoyed it. I know some people in the fandom said it's not a good game, but honestly, I think all Trails games are good. Is it as good as Daybreak 1? No, but I still enjoyed it because I enjoyed the characters. And from my understanding, it sets up a lot of what's going to happen in the next game, Trails Beyond the Horizon. I just bought Yumiya on a Prime Day sale. It'll be my first Atelier title. So Yumiya is a lot of fun. I played that earlier this year too. And if you like a lot of exploration in games, I think Yumiya is a great title. Definitely gives me like Xenoblade Chronicles vibes when it comes to kind of exploring the environments and world. And it's just so pretty. It's a pretty game. I played it on PC. I think it's a good way to get interested in the Atelier games, but they are different compared to the previous titles. And I will say I don't like the alchemy as much as, say, Ryza's alchemy systems, but what's nice about Yumiya is you definitely don't have to invest time like in the alchemy at all. You could kind of just streamline it and have it do auto build for you. So it's not too bad. We were building a model kit today, but I dropped a piece and I can't find it. So we are putting this on hold, or actually I think I just found it. Never mind, I did not find it. I think it dropped in my cart tray. I'll have to dig through it, which is unfortunate because it's a very small piece and it's kind of essential for putting on basically the helmet, the thing that's sticking out of it. So in theory, I probably could skip it, but I've discovered that building a model kit on stream is not a good idea. I'm not very good at it, especially if I'm trying to respond to chat here. Do I play any VR games? I do not. I don't have a VR headset because I feel like I would get sick when playing them. And there's not that many VR games I'm interested in. I know there's a Psychonauts VR game on the PlayStation, but I'm probably gonna have to skip out on that. Who's my favorite Hunter x Hunter character? It's hard to say. I do like the main two characters, I would say. It's been so long since I watched it, and I know the manga, I think, restarted again after that long hiatus. So I'm really curious what's going on in that universe. I need to revisit it and maybe read the manga. But I'm very behind, and it's been years since I watched the original reboot. I didn't watch the original series, but I watched the reboot of it. Oh, so they are going to add the Japanese voices in 3.5 for Honkai Star Rail. That's good, because yeah, it's been a little bit jarring in 3.4 without them. Yeah, I think the bonding moments in Daybreak 2 definitely shined this time around for Trails. And there weren't a lot of bonding moments in the first game, which was a little bit strange, and there weren't that many mini games, which I appreciated, because mini games are not my favorite thing in most RPGs, but they're still fun to do, I think, in Daybreak 2. It might be under my chair. I'm afraid to move it further. Hopefully it doesn't get lost for good, but it should be here. I just have to, I think, really find it. I like the chair I have right now. It's not that expensive in terms of like desk chairs that are supposed to be good for sitting long periods of time. I do have it linked in my desk tour video I did a few months back. I forget what it's called. It's called like Fox something. I got it on Amazon, and it's under $400. I think it's in the $300 range. So it's pretty good if you want, you know, a chair has like lumbar support and things like that. So it's good overall. Oh, Zoe, you're only on chapter 3 of Daybreak 1. All the characters are great, and there's some high stakes, I would say, the further you get into Daybreak 1. So I'm excited for you to experience that. Atelier Maru holds a special place in my heart, especially that soundtrack. I haven't played that one, though I do have her little Nendo. She has like the cutest sitting Nendo. I think it's over here, I could grab it. Hopefully not break her. Yeah, is she cute? Little sitting Nendo. I do have do I have her game? She's in the Arland trilogy, which I think is only available digitally on the Switch. So I might need to investigate how to get that at some point. Maybe just buy that digitally. Maybe that's available on PC. Maybe I'll play that on PC at some point. Atelier games. I played a lot of them, but I haven't played all of them because there's so many. But I do have an interest in playing all of them eventually. Yeah, I think office chairs are much better than gaming chairs. Like, if you guys ever start YouTube, you start getting kind of spammed by some gaming chair companies, asking if you want to showcase one of their gaming chairs on your channel. Like, it's nice to have a free chair, but they're not that great of chairs. I'm not going to advertise those. And they have some cool collaboration ones too, like some of those companies, but they're kind of expensive for what they are, and usually in office chairs. Better for your back, especially if you're going to be sitting in long periods. Yeah, I think what's really nice about Daybreak is it does have some school elements, but you're not really focused just on the school. There's a lot of other cool things you do, and I would say that arc is much more mature compared to the other ones, which is also very refreshing, and I think appropriate too for being one of the more recent Trails arcs, because we're kind of done with the whole, coming of age tropes, I would say, for at least the main protagonist and things like that. Have you tried playing Fantasian by any chance? So I haven't played it, but excuse me, it does look really interesting, and I do hear there's a high difficulty curve, and they went, I think, and updated the difficulty options. Instead of making an easier mode, they made it like even harder mode or something, which I find funny. But I really like how they made that game, because I think they used like physical models, right, to make the environments and things. So very old school kind of touch to how they designed the game. And it's by, one of the famous Final Fantasy directors, making his own game. So eventually I'd like to get that one. But I don't know when that will be. I heard good things about it, that it's a really good experience. Yeah, the piece is going to be like somewhere where I least expect it. Yeah, I think gaming chairs are kind of a scam too. That's why I did not get one or advertise for one. Kai no Kaseki takes the story in such a wild direction. I'm gonna be blown away. I'm really excited. I've heard nothing but good things about that arc, and it's cool to see the return of familiar faces too. We got that a little bit in the Daybreak arc so far, but yeah, I think January is gonna be just full on Trails mode. I'm gonna be so excited for that game. Are you looking forward to Professor Layton, the new world of Steam? Yes. Have they announced when that's coming out? Like, I know they teased for that a while ago. And it's good that Level 5 finally put out the new Fantasy Life game. That is really good. So I'm hoping they do this next Professor Layton game justice, because when they did the spin-off title, I think, on the 3DS and the Switch a couple years ago, it wasn't received as well. So hopefully this is kind of going back to the roots of Professor Layton and being a good experience. Yum Game. I am not rebranding you or anything, but come here because you play a lot of Nisa games and you encourage me to jump into those types of games. Well, I'm glad, because those games are great. So Nisa publishes, of course, more than just the Falcom games, like Trails and Ease, but they have a lot of other, Nippon Ichi software games, which is what NIS stands for. And I think there's going to be maybe some more games coming out from that, studio eventually. And nothing's been announced yet, but hopefully some things are, in the works, because they're always, I think, kind of a unique take on RPGs. And they also publish, other companies, like there's a lot of Furu games that they publish, though there's a new Furu game coming out, I want to say next month, that's supposed to be like a Persona-like game, but they are self-publishing it, so I'm curious how that's going to go. Furu games are very hit or miss for me, so I'm not too overly excited for that game, but I hope it's good. If it's good, then I'll definitely get it. But yeah, I think a lot of niche RPGs are fun, and Nisa publishes a lot of niche RPGs. Yeah, Sakaguchi was I'm so bad with names. I'm like the worst when it comes to names, unfortunately. But yeah, he's the one who made Fantasian. Have you tried any of the Tales of series or putting them on your playlist? So I've yet to play them. I want to. I have a couple of them in my backlog back there. I have Tales of Vesperia, Tales of Vesperia, Tales of the Abyss, and let's see, I have Zestiria. And there's more I like to play. Like I wanted to play Grace's F that came out earlier this year. I feel like the Tales of games would be right up my alley because, all the anime kind of scenes they have and the action RPG elements look fun. I just need to play them and just dive in. And which game would you guys suggest as the best, intro to Tales of series? Maybe that's something I could play on stream too. Do you know why Cold Steel Plus 1 and 2 are not on Switch in North America? My guess, there's a lot of things, because it's kind of weird. Falcom has all these different publishers that they've been publishing their games and having localized. And so Xseed is the one who handled Cold Steel 1 plus 2. So maybe for some reason they decided not to use the translations they have and publish that on Switch. It's also possible that Falcom decided not to use some sort of expenditure to make those physically on Switch. There's so many different, you know, things behind the scenes that we don't know what's going on. Maybe they'll eventually have Cold Steel 1+2 maybe come out on Switch 2. But for now, it looks like we only have to have those, or we only really have those on PlayStation and Steam at the moment, and Vita. But maybe someday I'll come to, maybe they'll do like a whole, like in Japan for the Trails games, like Cold Steel has a box set of like all the entries they have, I think up to, it's either Cold Steel 1 through 4, or they also may include Reverie in that. So maybe we'll see something like that here, but it's such a niche, you know, game that maybe not. Speaking of Kai, if they released a Kevin figure, would you pay $500 for it? And why is the answer yes? Oh man. If he would fit on my shelf, yes. But if it's like one of those big resin things, no, I don't have room for that. I would have been buying a Stellar Van huge resin because I have no room for those. But I think Kevin should definitely get a figure, and I'm excited to see him in Trails Beyond the Horizon again, because he's been absent for quite some time, which has been sad. As one of the Trails protagonists and a pretty prominent character in the Sky games. Let's see. And do you have a favorite Apothecary Diaries character? Oh, isn't everyone's favorite Malmo? She's so cute. And she's so weird. That's what I think she's so fun. And her dynamic with all the other characters, I think are so fun. But yeah, Malmo. It's definitely the obvious one, right? Do you have to move to a smaller place? Would you sell your collection or put it in storage? That's a good question. Like when I was transitioning from grad school to my postdoc and to postdoc, I had to live with family members for a little bit. And so I did actually put a lot of my collection in storage back then. So I didn't, like, that's why some of my first videos on this channel, I didn't have a background. I tried to find somewhere in the house that had natural sunlight and just started recording. And it wasn't until I moved into this small little studio I was able to finally put up some of my collection. But yeah, I probably would just put them, like, I might downsize a bit. And you know, whenever you move, especially if you move like long distance, you want to bring fewer things with you because it's a pain to drag all of it with you. So I would probably try to downsize a little bit and just really further curate my collection, and then move it into storage or something if needed. I hope Sakuna Chronicles is good. So the Sakuna Rise and Ruin ones, the first game's pretty cool. I want to play more of it. I only dabbled a little bit in it. And it's amazing that's was only made by a 2-person team. So I'm seeing, for my Tales of question I asked earlier about which one I should start with, I'm seeing Xillia, Vesperia, or Berseria. And a second vote for Vesperia. Hello, Falcon Scott. Grace's Elf is great, but recommend that Berseria and Arise. Yeah, Arise is another one I've been interested in getting on the PS5 specifically. And thankfully it's pretty cheap. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet. Thoughts on the Etrian Odyssey series? Have I played it? I think I see Nexus on the shelf there. Yeah, so Nexus is there. I have only really dabbled in 4 right now because I wanted to see what it was like before I start buying all of them on the 3DS. And I wanted to buy them on the 3DS because I wanted to have the actual interactive stylus with making the maps and things in the dungeons you go in, because I feel like that's part of the experience. And while the Switch HD Remaster Collection is great and does the auto mapping for you, I do feel like it's kind of a game that was designed around the 3DS in the DS system. So that's why I kind of decided to go all in and buy all those up on that on the 3DS specifically. But there are games that I definitely need to invest more time in that I don't have. But I think they're pretty cool and a lot different, you know, from your traditional JRPG, for sure. Symphonia is also a classic for a reason, albeit it can seem pretty slow by today's standards. That's what I've heard. Like, I know a lot of people who grew up with it. It's their favorite Tales of game, which is great. And I hear the remaster is not the best, so that's kind of why I've held off getting that. I might try to grab it on the PS4 eventually, because I think the Switch version, I've heard not so great things, even with the patches. But I need to invest more time in Tales of before I think I buy any more. Are you going back to Japan, Emily? I would like to. International trip is not on the docket for this year because I'll be going to South Carolina next week and then Seattle later this summer. And I don't really see myself doing another international trip anytime soon. Maybe next year. We'll see. We'll see how things go. I'm currently transitioning in jobs, so that's kind of why I have the summer gap right now. So that's why I've been streaming so much. But we'll see what happens. Are you enjoying streaming, or were you expecting something different? I didn't really know what to expect. Like, I streamed before on people's live podcast shows, and so I had sort of an expectation of how those go. And I've definitely seen some friends stream a little bit on YouTube and Twitch, and not that much. I haven't watched that many streams in my lifetime, but for today, I thought I would be more productive and actually make some progress on this model kit, but that was not the case. But I'm surprised by, I think, how well the game playing ones have been going. So I've been enjoying those, and I'm trying to become a little bit better of a storyteller while doing that, and while focusing on the game and making progress while also responding to chat. So it's been interesting and something I look forward to improving on. Spirit Beaver, start with Tales of Fantasia history lesson. So that's the first one. That might be interesting to start from the beginning and then make my way up. We'll see if I do that. Do I have any pets? If I could adopt any pet, what would it be? And you have a little cat emoji there. I'm a cat person, so I would adopt a cat. Though, I feel like my studio apartment's too small for a cat, especially with like a litter box. I don't think that's ideal. If I have a bigger place, I definitely would want a cat, probably. Especially if I'm going to do more of a work from home situation where I'll be with it. Though I have to figure out the collection, because I don't want it, because there's some cats that are good with collections and they won't like ruin your figures, and there's some that will knock them over. So I'll have to see what the temperament of the cat would be, how that goes. Kevin was off screen in Reverie. We actually didn't see Kevin, which was sad. But it'll be cool to see Rise again, for sure. Tales of Zillia 1 and 2 are awesome. Those are the rumored remaster we're getting, right? From Bandai Namco. So maybe I'll luck out and be able to experience those soonish. I don't think I've mentioned this, but I'm part of the Bandai Namco Creator Collective, which is kind of their ambassador program. And so I'm able to get first dibs, I think, on some of those new release game codes. So I was hoping to stream a lot of Bandai Namco games this year. We'll see what happens. Did I play Nights in the Nightmare on DS? I did not. The DS games I am less versed on, and because I only really picked up the whole DS systems with the 3DS XL, so I was a little late to the game there. But there's definitely some DS games I want to get back to. It's just a lot of the RPGs on the DS are so expensive, and I'm afraid the flash memory they use is just going to stop working after a while. Unlike the 3DS, where if you insert your games on the 3DS into the system, it kind of self-repairs itself. The DS does not have that mechanism, unfortunately. What I love about Japan. Japan, so I've been to Japan 3 times, and they are all different experiences. And I think what's really cool about Japan is how, I guess, different the culture is in some respects. So when you're kind of walking around, like, there's a different feeling you have compared to if you're exploring like a different city, let's say like in the US or someplace, like even if you're traveling someplace, there's something just a little bit magical, I guess, with how the vibes are there. And I feel like I could both be kind of independent and, you know, kind of navigate things and have really cool experiences. Whereas when you go, I think, to cities like in the US, it feels weird if you're traveling alone or, you know, just with one or two people. Because of just how I think the Japanese culture is kind of tailored towards more of those individual experiences. So it's really nice, I think, for someone traveling. And Japan also just has a lot of cool things that I like. Like I like anime, I like a lot of Japanese video games. So it's cool to see, you know, a lot of that sort of stuff just around every street corner being advertised and things like that. I also really like Japanese food, and a lot of the museums they have there I've enjoyed going to. And with cities like Kyoto, which is probably my favorite city in Japan, I like how they have a lot of the, you know, cultural, like the pop cultural aspects in this main city area. But if you want to, you could get away and see more of the like nature and cool temples and things like that. So it's just, I think, a really fun place to visit. Would I ever want to live there? Probably not, but I enjoy visiting for sure. Game asks, why not having a PS3? Miss the Tales of Xillia for sure, and the OG Nier. That is true. Though, I do feel like a lot of the PS3 games that I would be interested in are eventually getting remakes or remasters. So, it's hard for me to really invest, I think, in a new system, even if it's like an older system. If it doesn't have a huge like game library that I would have a lot of games for. Because for the PS3 at the moment, there's a lot of collections I would like that are from like 3D platformers I like the Ratchet and Clank games, as well as the Jak and Daxter. They have like a collection and things like that. I think that would be cool to own. And then, of course, some of those RPGs you mentioned would be cool to own as well. But I think given just how large my backlog is right now, I don't need to add a new console onto that. Maybe someday that'll change, but for now, I'm okay not having a PS3. The model kit looks great. Unfortunately, I'm not making any progress on it right now. The music, I think this might be from Daybreak. Though I have it mute on my end, so you guys are enjoying the music without me. If you have anyone to play locally with you, co-op during battles in the older Tales of games are fun. That is something to consider. I could invite my brother to play, though he doesn't like RPGs, or JRPGs specifically, so I don't know if he would do that with me. Maybe his girlfriend will be more receptive to coming along, because I don't know that many JRPG enjoyers in my vicinity, unfortunately. All my friends here don't play games, or they don't like JRPGs. Let's see. Trying to catch up. Yeah, I feel like cats are probably very dangerous when it comes to model kits or just figure collecting in general. Did I ever play Star Ocean games? No, but I do have 2 Star Ocean games. I have, let me pull them. I don't know why they weren't sitting next to each other, but I first got Star Ocean, The Divine Force, which I feel like is underrated and it looks fun. So that's why I picked it up. I think I picked it up super cheap a couple years ago. And then more recently I got Star Ocean Second Story R, which I'm excited to play. I don't know which one I would start with, maybe Second Story, since that's the one that people like to cite as their favorite Star Ocean game. But someday that will happen, hopefully. The Bandai Ambassador thing, I'm not sure how it goes. Like, I was only just recently accepted. And apparently there's some Discord chat, but I'm not active on Discord, really. So I haven't been paying attention to that. And I think they just give us priority when it comes to requesting codes, which is nice. Maybe there'll be other cool things in the future with that, though. Yum Yum Game. You can mod your PS3, not everyone knows. Yeah, you can mod any system, right? So it's something that I could do. It's just, I don't know. We'll see if that ever happens. If I have the capacity, you know, to add another hardware to my lineup. Like, I haven't even gotten the Switch 2 yet, which could play all my Switch games. So I might have to prioritize that before I look into a PS3. Trin, when I was in Japan, an old guy yelled at us on the subway because we were talking. They don't like foreigners. I think it depends. Depends like where, like my experience, I never had any negative experiences in Japan. But I'm sure right now, because of just how much tourism has ramped up within the past year alone with the weak yen, or how weak the yen is, I'm sure some of the natives or Japanese people don't appreciate all the tourists, you know, taking up like the subway spaces or, you know, the bus systems and things like that. But most Japanese people I talked to and met were super nice to me. Nothing but a good experience. The coolest thing about Japan are the small countryside and mountain towns. Cities are so accessible, great for weeb stuff, but honestly, those are the best of the country. Yeah, I think the country in Japan is very cool. I haven't gone to the countryside as much as I would like to. This last trip, I did a little bit more exploring outside of the Golden Triangle, which is, you know, Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. And that was a really good experience, other than catching the typhoon when I was on Yakushima Island. That was not fun, but I made it through. Eternal Sonata is also on PS3. That is true. I think it's also on Xbox 360, right? So technically, I probably could get an Xbox 360, and there's some exclusive games on there that I don't know if will ever come over elsewhere. Looking at you, Lost Odyssey, but we'll see what I do at some point. I'm just not in a rush to get a new console at the moment, or invest in an older console. Thanks for stopping by, Falcom. So my grasp of other languages, including Japanese, is very limited. So I would have to invest years, I think, to feel confident to read Japanese. I'm not the best at languages. In high school, when we had to, like, you know, choose what language to take, I went with Latin because we didn't have to speak it. We didn't have to write it. We just had to translate it. It's also useful, of course, because a lot of, you know, Romance languages have Latin roots, but I was very deliberate in choosing that than some of the other more practical languages. Like, I probably should have taken Spanish as someone who lives in Southern California. And I know some Spanish terms, of course. You can't, you know, avoid those here. But I'm definitely not the best linguist. I love Japan. Korea and China are really nice too. I have been there. So last summer I went to South Korea, so Seoul, for a few days, and I went to Shanghai for a few days, and then I did my whole Japan trip. So I really enjoyed all those experiences. China was a little bit more foreign to me because I had been to Korea previously, but I think out of all those, I really liked Japan the best. Like, I felt less stressed while being there, which was nice. The other two cities were a little bit more stressful, I think, to navigate. Though, of course, they were very cool. It'd be cool to go back to China someday because I've only been to Shanghai. And it was nice because the friend I went with, she speaks some Chinese, so it was easier to navigate some things. Because I feel like there's a little bit more of a language barrier if you travel in China. versus Korea or Japan. And as I mentioned, I'm not the best with languages. And I'm not that great at English either, so that's the reason why I was not an English major. Okay, yeah. Oh, if you're planning to go to Japan to visit your cousin, yeah, there's a lot of cool things to look for. When it comes to the Japanese games for PS4, PS5, depends, I guess, if you want games with English in them. Like, right now, the only import I have is this game, Nausea, if you heard of it. This also has English in it. This is a variant cover. I think the cover that you will probably see, not that one, which one? Let me not rip this. You'll probably see this cover. I think it's a standard cover. This is a visual novel that it's very interesting because you have to kind of find out who the secret, you know, enemy is and all that. I've yet to play it, but this one I recommend for PS5. Try to hunt that one down. Outside of that, I'm not too familiar with what imports on the PS4, PS5 that have English on them, that are exclusive there. Usually the website I look to for those are Video Games Plus, because they always import English or Asian English games. And also, PlayAsia is a great resource for knowing which games have English on them. So I would kind of look at their top sellers and see what people usually import from them for ideas. Maybe it's different outside of the cities, but I was able to get around Japan with almost no problems not knowing any Japanese. Google Lens Translate app is also very useful. Yeah, same. I don't really know any Japanese or how to read it. They've made it extremely easy, I think, for tourists to navigate most of the areas, especially the cities. I don't know about the countryside, but I'm sure you could get by. And most Japanese people I encountered when I was asking for directions or, you know, clarifications and they didn't speak English, they were very patient with me. And I used the Google Translate app to, you know, talk to them. And it worked out. Did you happen to get a jump scare from the samurai statue prankster while in Kyoto? I did not. I didn't know that was a thing, but that sounds funny. Do they do Chinese takeout in China? So Chinese food in the US is very different from Chinese food in China. I knew this before because my grad school program had a lot of people from China, and they would talk about, you know, the food differences and how they don't like any of the Chinese restaurants in the city we're in for those reasons. But yeah, there's a lot of great food, I would say, in China. Shanghai is known for their soup dumplings, which was very good. But there was a lot of great food there, and you could pay by mobile, and so there's a lot of easy ways in using apps to order food if you didn't want to sit there. Yeah, just take them out. I had a lot of milk tea, fruit flavored ones, using those methods that were very good and very cheap. It's amazing the prices of food, you know, in other countries compared to, say, the US. Everything is so much cheaper, especially in the Asian countries. And in some ways, they are, you know, healthier. And it depends what you're ordering, of course, but it's one of my favorite things about traveling is the food. It's always fun to try new food. As long as it doesn't have the ugly Peggy rating, I don't care. Yeah. The Peggy ratings, sometimes they're a little distracting, aren't they, with how colorful they are? I do prefer like the Japanese one. Though, if you look at the spine is also sticks out on the shelf because of the braiding and color they use. So I'm okay with some Peggy rating ones, depending on what it is, but on Switch I prefer not to have Peggy because I don't like how it's centered aligned spines instead of left-centered. But that's just a nitpicky thing. The best food in China is Szechuan and Henan. Just let the spice roll. So for me, I love spicy food, but I don't like Szechuan. Something about those, was it the black pepper corn, black corn, whatever that's called. I really don't like that taste. We had hot pot, I think, one night, and one of the tubs was a Szechuan flavored one, and I ate it, but it was not my favorite. There's something about it that's just very not pleasing to my tongue. But other spicy food I like I really like in Korea. I love their spices that they use. The fermented red pepper paste they use for most of their dishes. It has a good spice to it. I really like that flavor. And Thai chilies I love too. Even Japan, like their spicy food, though, there's not that much spicy food in Japan. They're much more subtle, I would say, with their kind of flavor profile in general. But if you have like true wasabi, like I don't mind that. The fake wasabi you have at most Japanese restaurants, like here in the US, which is just like horseradish, I don't like. But yeah, spicy food could be good. Yeah, there are plenty of stores that sell used games like Book Offs and Sorgaias. I was also able to get multi-language games considerably cheaper than sold online. Same. I got a couple games, though a lot of the games are kind of picked over depending on where you're looking. Like, I had the best luck at Mandarake in Tokyo, but all the other game stores, they were kind of expensive for some of them. And I think a lot of the Asian English, or ones that had multi-language, were kind of already picked off the shelf when I was looking. But if you're traveling outside of Tokyo in Japan, you'll probably have better luck at some of the game stores and places like that. That's where I got a lot of my art books that weren't picked over. So I attempted to build this, and then I dropped a piece that's somewhere below there, and I stopped building because I'm not productive, unfortunately, when it comes to building and trying to hold a chat stream at the same time. Maybe I'll get better at some point, but I'm just sad. But I hope you guys are enjoying this chat while listening to some chill Falcon songs that I have in a playlist here. There is the numbing taste in Szechuan's interesting. I just thought black peppercorn or whatever it is. I just don't like that flavor. I wish I liked it, but unfortunately, I'm very particular about some things. Korean food, it's not all sugary. I would say there's some sugar in it, but I don't know. I feel like Thai food tends to have more sugar than Korean. But it depends what you're eating, of course. But I totally understand not vibing with it. I have a sweet tooth, so maybe that's my bias here. Japan has all different types of sushi like options. You could have the very high-end sushi stuff that's expensive, but there are also conveyor belt sushi where you get like, 100 yen plates for sushi, and you could keep racking that up if you want. I'd never been to a buffet in Japan. I don't know if they have buffets in Japan. They must have buffets, but I don't think it's that common. But yeah, there's all different price points, and most of the food when I went to Japan last time was very reasonable or very cheap, considering how, poorly the Japanese yen is, especially last summer. Kira in Japan is way better than here in LA. I believe it. I believe it. There's some good LA spots that I've been to, but nothing usually compares to what it's like across the water. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the chat. Seems like game stores these days don't stock as much now. Yeah, I think that's the case in Japan right now. I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, a lot of people are, you know, going over there to get games cheaply. So there's a lot of tourism that are just picking them up. And also, I think in Japan, a lot of people, instead of giving, you know, games to these used stores to sell, they've been reselling it online. Because I think like Mercari Japan is very popular. I see games on there all the time. And there's games like, or places like Suragaya who have, you know, the storefronts to sell out their used stuff, but they have an online presence too. So I imagine a lot of the stuff that they have online, it's not necessarily displayed, you know, in their storefront. So I'll be interested to learn a little bit more about how is it working over there now? Are they kind of moving towards online rather than, you know, physical presence when it comes to used games, like so much of what we've seen here in the US at least. What's your favorite Asian sweet / dessert? Favorite Asian sweet. I do like, why am I blanking on this? The you guys will probably give me the name. It's the frozen dessert that they have, like in Korea. You know, it's the flaky, like the milk flakes that they have with a lot of fruit, and that's very good. Though it's hard to eat that by yourself. You usually have to have someone help you eat that. Hopefully you guys could give me the name because that's escaping me right now. But I also really like, let's see. The issue, I think, with a lot of, at least, desserts in Japan and some other Asian countries, they like using red bean paste, which I could eat, but it's not my favorite. I'm very much a chocolate person. And when I was in Japan, especially if you go to like the department stores and the underground kind of shopping areas, they have a lot of great cake shops and things. So it was very fun to kind of sample a lot of those. Sometimes some of the desserts they had, they looked better than they actually tasted. But there were some very good ones that were very rich and very chocolatey, so I was very happy to discover those. Either cakes or cookies and stuff like that. Their pastries are also very good. I think Japan does a very good job at, you know, people who are kind of in the restaurant and kind of baking scene at really making an art out of their goods that they sell daily. And I felt more confident, I think, buying from those bakery shops than a lot of places in the US here, because I feel like in the US, I cannot find that many good bakeries or like sweet shops, you know, and they're either way too expensive if they're very good, or something looks better than it, you know, tastes. So that's been my experience. Have I visited places in Europe? I've not been to Europe, actually, which is a travesty. I would like to go to Europe someday, especially like the UK area, because that's technically my like familial roots are from there, though I'm kind of a product of many European countries, apparently, when it comes to my genetic test. But there are a lot of great countries I'd like to visit someday. Outside of Asia, of course, there's a lot of Asia, so I've only been to 4 countries, which is very sad, but I've only been to South Korea, China, Japan, and Canada, if we count Canada. I've not been to Mexico, even though I live in Southern California. It's like a hop over. Someday I would like to go, and there's a lot of countries in Europe I'd love to go to someday. I just don't know when that will be. It's very expensive to travel internationally these days, especially on that side of the world. And that's kind of why I've been focused so much in like Asia, because it's been cheaper. It's closer to me, living in California. And so the flights are very cheap usually. And the price of food and accommodations and stuff has been a lot cheaper in Asia compared to Europe. But I'll need to change that someday. Is it lunchtime for me? Yes. I probably should take a break soon. It is 1 o'clock. How long have we been streaming? We've been going for 3 hours, which has been so fun. I feel bad. I'm not stuck. I'm not caught up in this. Bingsu. Yes, bingsu was the Korean dessert I was thinking of. Thank you. I'm so bad at names. Bingsu is very good. I love especially mango bingsu. My favorite. Actually, when I was in Japan, I really loved the convenience store food, surprisingly. Everyone talks about convenience store in Japan, but it's legit really good. And one of my favorite dessert things I would always seek out there, in 7-Eleven, they had these fruit bars that weren't ice cream really, but it was like basically frozen fruit in a bar, a little bit of ice cream. And the mango ones they had were so good. They also had peach flavored ones and some other fruit ones, but they were always good. My friend and I, when we were there last summer, we would always every night seek them out because they weren't expensive and they just tasted so good. Yeah, bakeries are definitely a big thing in Europe for sure. Like, I think a lot of people who, or a lot of like pasteurs, I can't even say it, like pastry makers and things, they have training like in Europe and then they come back. Sometimes, not always, but I think that's always what you see, you know, in the shows and things that they talk about. And that's why they taste so good and so buttery. The only part in Canada I visited was Vancouver, which was back when I was in high school and before my family went on some sort of cruise to Alaska, which was the only time I did a cruise. And probably the only time I will do a cruise because it wasn't the best experience, though I was, you know, in high school. I was a kid at that time. So it wasn't that fun, especially because I was kind of stuck with some family members that I don't really vibe with. They're okay. They're just a little bit much. So there was that aspect to it as well. Hello. I feel bad. We're gonna, I think, start winding down on the stream soon. I might try to end around 3, so in a few minutes. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me and chatting. I didn't make any progress really on this model build. I built the head and I lost the piece to put the top of the helmet here on it. It is down there. I need to hunt for it right after I close out here and hopefully build more of it. So I probably won't continue doing a build stream because as you can see, it's not productive at all. But I will definitely post the results of my model kit on social media if you guys are interested in seeing how it turned out. And I'll eventually put that this Divine Knight with the other two to go back there. And eventually I'll also get to Arianrhod. I think she's going to be easier. I probably should have started with her because I think she has fewer parts that are not as tiny. But yeah, I again appreciate you guys showing up and, you know, chatting with me. It's been a good way to spend my mid-Saturday morning, so I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Tomorrow I'm going to have a surprise stream that is kind of spontaneous because I got a code for the new Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4 remake. So I want to relive playing that since I had that on the PS2 back in the day. So it'd be cool to see what the changes are in that game and chill with the new soundtrack they added and appreciate early 2000s skate culture. But yeah, be on the lookout for tomorrow's stream. I will post something on my channel page to let you know what time that will be. because I'm still figuring that out. Thank you, Dan. Bye-bye. Very soon. And yeah, we'll do more streams, and I'm hoping to finish up Psychonauts this Monday before I head out to South Carolina. We'll see if I'm able to actually finish the game or if I have to extend that to Tuesday. We shall see. But yeah, you guys all enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.